go. I think this is okay. I don't know why it's doing that. I hope it's okay. Test. I should probably actually listen to how this sounds on another device real quick. Let me go ahead and... Sorry about this. I want to make sure that sounds alright. Let me go ahead and... I think it sounds alright. Alright, we'll go with it. Alright. In that case, hello everyone, my name's Caden, and welcome back to more Grey Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last time we beat the second case of Resolve, and now we're going to continue on with, case 3. Why did I forget numbers for a second? This case will be The Return of the Great Departed Soul. I also don't know if my mic sounds weird. I don't know. The settings for some reason were weird when I started up. Like it disconnected the mic for some reason. Maybe I'm just paranoid. Oh well. It still sounds good, it's just, I don't know. I feel like something might have changed for some reason. Oh well. There's not really a whole lot I can do, if that's the case. But anyways, Return of the Great Departed Soul. Let us begin. This one is supposed to take place in the Great Exhibit. Let's do it.
The grand end of the century Great Exhibition of London. Surely there is not a soul who has failed to hear of it. Wondrous new works of culture and industry from every corner of the globe had converged on Hyde Park, welcoming over 50 million visitors. The last great hurrah of this century. Astonished and delighted people of all nations, and ended on a note of resounding success.
Very nice.
But as regards to the terrible catastrophe that occurred during the festivities, very few were aware my friend Mr. Herlock Sholmes had a hand in unraveling the matter. For from the shadows, it was he who earnestly unearthed the facts of the case. And like the centerpiece of the great exhibition, which rose high into the skies of Hyde Park, Sholmes's brilliant deductions, as clear and lofty as the Crystal Tower itself, brought the truth to light.
We're here at the showground of the Great Exhibition, which is absolutely packed with people.
Really now?
The weather is unusually fine, and we're about to witness a most extraordinary scientific experiment.
Unusually fine?
Ladies and gentlemen, the 20th century will see steam engines and electrical power dominate the world. Horse-drawn carts will give way to the motor car. Ships will sprout wings and take to the skies.
He's not wrong.
And today, we showcase even more advanced technology. A glimpse into the future. A world first. A demonstration of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine.
Okay. Looks dangerous.
A man will literally be disassembled by a pulse of high voltage electricity and beamed to another location. Whereupon his body will be reassembled by a series of complex calculations exactly as it was before.
This is going to turn out horribly. was a little run.
In but a few moments from now, this gentleman will, in the blink of an eye, complete an incredible journey through the air. To arrive an instant later on the Crystal Tower behind you!
Alright. This sounds mighty dangerous.
Yes! 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 Yes!
Ah, oh, never mind.
Please! That's not what I wanted!
Okay. So is it sabotaged?
Bruno, are you listening?
Oh, sorry. What was it, Iris?
What's the matter with you? You've been away all morning. Didn't you like what I cooked for breakfast?
No, that's not it at all. What were we talking about again?
Take his paper. It's full of news about the great exhibition today.
Yeah, the Great Exhibition. I'd like to go sometime.
You're really not your usual self today. You seem very down. Don't you agree, Hurley?
Well, seems like we've got a contender for down. Did you say something, Iris?
Oh gosh, you're even more down.
When did you arrive, Mr. Naho? I've been here for about half an hour already. We had breakfast together. Why didn't you mention it before? I, thought you might have known I was here. You know, because breakfast? I was just quite white. You are lacking in vim. So much so that I didn't notice your presence. Thanks. Of course, I could deduce the reason perfectly well with a simple observations. What? Let's see. Yes, for example, your tousled hair this morning with all its unruly spikes. Clearly, it can be deduced, therefore, that... let me stop you there, Mr. Shums, because I think I can see where this is going. My hair is always looking like this. It always has, ever since we first met, in fact. Oh, really? How interesting. It just doesn't look like a haircut as such, I suppose. Thanks again. It crossed my mind recently that it's been 6 months now.
6 months?
Since I was forbidden from working in court. So I've been wondering how much longer I'm going to be banned.
Oh, well, that'd explain why you seem rather glum. Don't you agree, Hurley?
And he's back to being depressed. Did you say something, Iris? Back to moping. Never change, Sholmes. Well, maybe get out of your funk and then never change. What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes today? He seems even more down in the dumps than me.
I know, and the great exhibition is open. You'd think he'd be excited. Oh, why don't we all go see it together?
I want to! Of course I do, but I can't! Not for the time being. Why not?
Why not? Why not? Because I'm a great detective after all.
So you're embroiled in some tricky case that you can't be distracted from? Is that it?
I don't remember hearing that you're working on a case, Hurley.
I suppose I should try to find out what's going on. Suppose so. But first, I will look. Anything change? I do love a good fire in the colder months. Watching the flames flickering and dancing about is just so very relaxing.
Cleaning out the chimney isn't so relaxing, though.
No, getting covered in soot isn't my idea of fun.
You know, Hurley decided he was going to clean it out himself last year. But you can guess what happened, can't you? He got himself stuck inside the flue.
I didn't know it's called a flue. Interesting note. He's a very slim man, I must admit, but there are limits to where a fully grown man can fit.
Now every time he does off by the fire, he has nightmares about it.
That's... I don't actually have a thing to say about that. All these are different pieces of evidence from cases that Mr. Sholmes solved are very interesting.
Trouble is, Hurley forgets things so quickly he never remembers why these things are relevant. The other day, for example, he saw the orange pips that were there and decided to plant them in the garden.
Pips? There's a pip.
Yes, they've all sprouted now. We have 5 new little plants.
Oh, well, I don't know what case they were from, but if Mr. Shums can get oranges to grow outside in England, he should change his profession. Ah, yes, the huge metal chest with the lace cloth laid on it, being used as a table for tea and coffee. It's very sturdy, that's for sure, and firmly locked shut. I'm pretty sure it's the same. Can't tell if the other things are the same, but I don't think they were. But I'm almost positive that one's the same. The Stradivarius. Ah, yes, Mr. Jump's faithful musical companion. Wasn't this violin by someone famous? Stradivarius. Save up for 100 years court. Yeah, I think all this is the same at this point. Although, there should be one thing that I think is always different. Which is this. Ah, yes, this is where you note down ideas, isn't it, ours? What's in the melting pot today? The blue never mind. It's not...
It's the case of a theft that...
Yeah, hold on. That's the same. I remember that because there's not a blue carbuncle. The carbuncle ate itself... No. Alright, in that case, let's not waste time doing that. Just that. It says Kazuma inside. Look at this. Oh, Mr. Shums, about this. Shh, not another murder? Ah, yes, I see. This would be a collar for a breed of miniature canine with a particularly long neck, and for winter use. Actually, it's the armband I always wear that symbolizes my role as a defense lawyer. Precisely! Which leads us to but one conclusion. Your arm is, in fact, the particularly long neck of a miniature canine. I'm starting to wish I'd never shown him this now. The man's barking mad. Well, let's talk. The event 6 months ago... Half a year ago now, I took on the defense of a young girl in a trial heard at the Old Bailey. What at first seemed like a simple case of murder that took place at a London pawnbrokery turned out to be one part of a much more far-reaching plot that involved the British government. During the course of the trial, it was found that I made an unavoidable, yet at the same time unforgivable, mistake. Words fail me. The situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, my lord. I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial. Of course, my lord. In the end, I had my right to represent people in court revoked. I was told I had to spend my time in research and study, so that's what I've been doing.
You have, haven't you, Reno? Reading all those big fat tomes about British law in your room, and the notes about Mr. Shum's old cases.
Brewing our special blends of tea, fetching my daily bread for me. You've become something of a manservant around here. Stand on the silverware next, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, I'm thinking of going to ask the powers that be to reconsider. Specifically Lord Strongheart, at the British Supreme Court on Whitehall.
Lord Strongheart!
Ah, the delightful Lord Chief Justice. Not my favorite fellow. He's not mine either, but he's a man I have to talk to. He's the one that can grant permission for me to start working in the courts again. I came to Britain to become the best lawyer I could, and I can't do that just sitting around here. The whole of London has been swept up in this great exhibition, hasn't it? The most advanced science, the most modern technology, the finest works of art, and feats of engineering. For the next 6 months, our capital will be showcasing these things, and the world will be watching.
Oh, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to look down on London from one of those lovely balloons.
Look down? Do you mean those things fly?
Yes, of course. They fly high in the sky and don't even need wings to do it. All I need is hot air.
Never been in a hot air balloon. Seems terrifying. The only thing that's keeping you in the air at that point is a little basket. How? How does hot air have anything to do with flying? It makes no sense. I can't understand it at all.
That's true. That's true that allows new of a lot of new scientific discoveries. Most people can't understand them at first. But in 100 years' time, all these things will be just common knowledge.
I suppose they might be.
Mind you, some of the science about being demonstrated seems very questionable. Something went wrong on the open experimentation stage yesterday, apparently. There was a huge explosion. Still, I wish I'd seen it, though. I'd love to see how bad some of these scam experiments really are.
Says the innocent 10-year-old girl. See here, every page of this paper carries some article or other about the Great Exhibition. But the brighter sides of things, but the brighter things shine, the darker the shadows that are cast behind them. Personally, I find myself drawn to the darkness, to the impenetrable. That is my proper atmosphere. A newspaper containing various articles about the world-leading science and technology on show at the Great Exhibition being held in London. Shadows cast behind. Is that a metaphorical way of referring to the back page of the paper? There's an easy way to find that out. Every article on the front page is news about the Great Exhibition. Public experiments to demonstrate brand new scientific ideas, cultural experiments from around the globe. It's also positive and hopeful about the coming century. We must all go see it properly before too long. The Reaper attack. Ooh! So many glowing reports about the Great Exhibition and everything that's going on there. Other than this rather gloomy looking one, that is. Wait. What?
What's the matter, Bruno?
The Reaper attacked. That's Lord Van Zeeks. This must be what Mr. Sholmes was talking about. Does he know any more, I wonder? St. Bartholomew. Mission Kitty. And compatriot, I don't know who this is. Well. Are you investigating a particularly tricky case at the moment, Mr. Sholmes? You could say that, I suppose. Nothing more to add? That's not like you. What sort of case is it? Shh! Quiet, Mr. Naruhodo. We must not discuss it here. You never know who might be listening.
You're acting very strangely, Hurley.
What do you mean, Iris?
Well, usually, the more mysterious and complicated cases, the better Hurley's mood is. Is it really a case that's bothering you?
Iris, please, you mustn't exercise your stupid powers of observation and deduction on me without invitation. Remember what I always say. Put yourselves in the shoes of the individual about whom you're about to make decisions. Deductions, whatever. Points on. You say that, do you? You, Mr. Sholmes. Never mind. Once I've had a cup of tea, I must make my way at once to the crime scene. That was a deep sigh. Reaper attacked. It says in the paper that Lord Van Zeeks was attacked. That's terrible. You know the legend of the Reaper of the Bailey, of course, don't you? Only too well, in fact. Yeah, Prosecutor Beric von Zeeks. They say that if the Reaper is the prosecutor in a case, there's no salvation for whoever's in the dock. Even if the defendant is found not guilty. Once the Reaper has someone in his sights, one way or another, that person's time left on this earth will be short. London's finest rogues always find some ways around the law. They'll stop at nothing to secure an acquittal at trial. Falsifying evidence, paying sham witnesses, threatening jurors, bribing judges. But even such devious tactics as these cannot save them from the hand of the Reaper. As you've experienced yourself, haven't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yeah, I've seen the Reaper's retribution at work. Many of these criminal rogues are reckless and quite unafraid to die. If a leader among their fraternity is seen to have been taken by the Reaper, retaliation like this does occur. Really? The capital has a never-ending supply of such scoundrels. So, do you mean Lord Van Zeeks has been attacked like this before? This isn't the first time? He's quite an accomplished combatant, you know. He doesn't take these attacks lying down. Although, it seems that his assailants were armed with guns this time. Oh my goodness, is he alright then? Is Lord Van Zieks hurt? My dear fellow, how on earth would I know?
Well, in the article here it says, as to what of Lord Van Zieks and his condition, all will be revealed in tomorrow's morning edition.
Ah, I see. Well, we shall have to be patient then. No, I can't wait till tomorrow. In that case, you shall have to inquire with somebody in the know. But who? Lord Strongheart, perhaps? I got my gloves on. Well, I must be leaving now. Yeah, understood. See you later, Mr. Sholmes. Ha! You really are shameless liars sometimes, my dear fellow. What? You seek to put me off my guard and follow me, don't you? Well, you would be wasting your time. The thought hadn't crossed my mind. But now I'm wondering where you're going. Well then, see you later indeed. Listen to him. He's still laughing on his way out the door. Ah, what the?
Alright then, Bruno, let's get going.
Apparently you have your own travel outfit. You never pulled this out when, in the first game, when you went with us. Oh, Iris? What are you wearing?
I got changed to go to the great exhibition you're going to take me.
Well, but I was just about to go to the Supreme Court.
Oh, well, that sounds fun too. You're going to take me there then. Right?
Alright, fine. Just lower that weapon, would you?
Of course, and after the Supreme Court, then we'll go to see the great exhibition.
Lord Strongheart. Pixelated birds. It's been about 6 months now since I was last here. But some things never change. Like the sense of foreboding I always seem to feel in his place. Iris, I don't think that's a good idea, but then again, you're a child that can seemingly get away with anything, so... It doesn't seem to be bothering Iris at all, though. She's happily reading over there.
Oh, I love this place. I always find so many interesting books here.
Of course. I was forgetting that you've been here before. The time we came here 6 months ago. When Susa-san was given the news that she was to return to Japan. Although, I don't know why I'm remembering her in these clothes, considering she wasn't in them at that point. Weird. Oh, it's probably Strongheart. Ah, I understand you wish to speak to me. Speak with me. Hi there. Oh, Lord Strongheart. I trust you've been keeping well? Let's see. Since you arrived and requested an audience, it's been 4 hours, 32 minutes, and 26 seconds. I've kept you waiting a while. My apologies. Oh no, not at all. I'd like nothing more than to stand around staring into space. Good to know. Good to know that doesn't appear to bother him at all. Mail Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of London. He's the man who allowed me to start practicing as a defense lawyer when I arrived in Britain as a student. You need only savor the air for a moment in this grand office to understand his preeminent status. As you will be aware, the Great Exhibition of London is now underway at last. We're extremely busy as a result, policing the grounds, guarding the new technologies, dealing with petty crime. And furthermore, as of the next month, we shall open the International Forensic Science Symposium. Oh, I've not heard about that. Investigating authorities from 40 countries around the globe will be taking part, including from your own land. Forensic science is the future. The world must embrace it. As with the hosting nation, I have much to do. And it is my highest priority. If others must wait for my attention as a result, so be it. Well, it's nice to know where I stand. So, you wish to consult with me? Of course, I can very well imagine what this is about. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting, my lord. I want to be allowed to start working as a defense lawyer again in court. That's what brought me here today. But actually, there's something else playing on my mind as it happens.
Bruno, just take a deep breath and come out with it.
I mean, she's not wrong. Alright. Allow me to work, please. I actually came here today to ask for your permission. Go on. 6 months ago, my right to work in court as a lawyer was revoked and I was told to spend my time studying. Obviously, I'm very sorry for what happened. But the thing is, it made me understand what it really means to defend somebody under the rules of a foreign justice system. And I desperately want to have another go. Please, permit me to enter the courtroom again. Mr. Naruhodo? Yes? Here it comes. I'm sure you haven't forgotten your position here, have you? At best, you are a substitute for your compatriot. This was never your intended role. Well, that's true. The Japanese government actually sent my best friend on this study tour, not me. It should have been Kazuma. He's so determined to bring change to our own justice system at home. That was his calling. If that tragic accident hadn't happened, I would be here and I wouldn't be here in this office now. Mr. Sogi was my best friend, you see. That's why I can't leave it unfinished. I have to fulfill his calling for him. His calling, you say? Has it never occurred to you that perhaps you know nothing of his true calling? What are you getting at? Sorry? The mission with which the young law student was charged. What do you suppose it really was? What do you mean? Mission? It's not making any sense. Never mind. I've read all the reports you submitted over the past 6 months. It's clear to me that you regret your actions and have been studiously obeying your revised instructions. Do you mean... As of this moment, I reinstate your license to practice law here in Great Britain. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's wonderful news, Bruno.
In fact, I believe I have the perfect case to mark your comeback. A curious affair. You'll consider it, I hope. Of course. Please, tell me more. Well, I'm at it. All sorts of conferences have been taking place around the world to coincide with the Great Exhibition. And next month, the largest and most important of them all will take place at last. The International Forensic Science Symposium. It does seem as though criminal investigation needs to embrace scientific methods, doesn't it? Exactly. London, the global epicenter of culture, science, and wealth, now has a population exceeding 6 million. Sadly, crime in the capital is growing at a similarly startling rate. So it's imperative that we use the latest scientific methods to investigate and resolve cases as efficiently as possible. Which is what's known as forensic science, isn't it? Exactly! The future of policing! Sir, could you stop unintentionally scaring Iris? Regrettably, however, Britain is currently dragging its feet when it comes to the adoption of forensic methods. Ah dear, that's alarming. Exactly! It's extremely alarming! If I were Her Majesty's Attorney General, you can be sure the numbers of crime committed and resolved in London would be very different to the current figures. And I can cite 12 solid arguments and 223 individual reasons to support my claim. Sorry? By way of apology for keeping you waiting earlier, I shall detail every one now.
Oh, how fascinating.
It all began 15 years ago. I was doing this and that and all this, and then here we go, and there was this one man who called himself Right or something, I don't know. Where are you going? And yeah, that's about it. I think. I don't know. Are you listening to me? And that more or less sums up my feelings on the matter. In the simplest terms, of course. Essentially, to formally establish a forensic investigation division within Scotland Yard. That is my mission. Oh, right. Yes, that's wonderful. Exactly. Wonderful is precisely what it will be. Iris isn't paying attention at all. She's got her nose in another book now.
Oh, is it over? Did you learn anything useful?
I actually drifted off for the most part. It's surprisingly ardent about forensic science. Before we continue, have Lord Strongheart stare into your soul while I go do something real quick. Alright, sorry about that. Let me change it. Oh, what? Hit the wrong button. Alright, we should be good. Alright, let's continue. Oh, hold on. Gotta take off jacket. Alright, now let's continue. I think, hopefully. Whatever. Curious affair. You described it as a curious affair. Yes, that's right. I believe it was reported in the press. Are you aware that there was a serious accident at the Great Exhibition yesterday? Oh, no.
Yes, I read about it. A professor from Germany tried to carry out a crazy experiment. Let me see. How is it described? Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, I think?
Instantaneous kinesis? As in moving things with the click of a finger?
That's right. It's just what my herbal blends need, a dash of devil-may-care.
Whatever the serious accident was exactly, it's clearly captured Iris's imagination. It's an unfortunate business. Large explosion engulfed the public experimentation stage and a man lost his life. A certain Mr. O.D. Asman, an investor and well-known figure in society. Large explosion? Explosion?
A man died?
The man responsible for the experiment was Professor Albert Harebrain. He was detained immediately after the incident, and is due to appear in court tomorrow. On the charge of murder. What? Murder? If you intend to take on this defense, you should hurry to meet with him at the prison. There is very little time left for you to carry out any kind of investigation. The Great Exhibition? A scientific experiment gone wrong? And murder? I feel out of my depth before I've even started, still.
We should go to the prison straight away then, and try to meet with this German professor. Don't you think?
Definitely. Ah, yes. One more thing about the case. There's a connection with our mutual acquaintance, the Reaper. Oh, hey. Oh, with Lord Van Zeeks. How? Okay. Okay, what? Look at this. Oh, that reminds me. Have you seen this?
Reports of the overwhelming success of the Great Exhibition. Of course.
No, not that. The story on the back page.
What story? The Reaper attacked. Ah, that. You've enjoyed some victories in court against my #1 prosecutor, have you not?
Poor Mr. Reaper. What happened to him? He wasn't killed, was he?
There's no need for concern. Lord Van Zieks will not be so easily dispatched, I assure you.
Can you tell us what happened? I'd really love to know.
Very well. If it interests you.
It does. Strangely. What's Van Zieks' condition?
Fortunately, Lord Van Zieks emerged from the attack unscathed. Street ruffians are no match for that man. He's a very capable fighter.
But that's incredible. They were armed with guns. Why was he attacked, though? Do we know?
It's related to the events that occurred a month ago. A leader of one of the capital's criminal organizations was indicted and prosecuted by Van Zieks. But the man was acquitted. I have no doubt large sums of money were involved behind the scenes.
Large sums of money?
A deplorable situation. Members of the jury were bribed, it seems. However, despite winning his freedom, the man in question met a dramatic end yesterday.
But you're not suggesting that was the work of the Reaper, surely?
The victim's henchmen certainly seem to think so. He was a man by the name of Asman, Mr. Odie Asman.
Did you say Asman?
That's the man who died in the big explosion at the Great Exhibition.
Oh.
Yes, known publicly as investor, but in reality, the head of a significant criminal organization.
Unbelievable. I wonder, can I ask you something, Lord Strongheart?
Try me.
Why do you use Lord Van Zieks as a prosecutor? All the criminals who managed to get off in court then meet with mysterious ends outside the courtroom. And fearful of that fate, they seek to strike at Lord Van Zieks first. I know there's no evidence that he actually is the Reaper in that sense, but still. Something's clearly going on here.
I Van Zieks worked for the prosecution service for 2 reasons. Firstly, the man is the best prosecutor in the capital, bar none. And secondly, any deaths of criminals that have occurred outside the courtroom following his trials are nothing to do with him.
But that doesn't make any sense. How can you explain the way so many have died if not by someone's hand?
Van Zieks may have earned himself the moniker of the Reaper, but he is no killer. So he will continue to prosecute on behalf of the Crown. Unless he wishes otherwise, of course. Well, I must be leaving for my next engagement. I'm already 11 hours and 16 minutes late. My colleagues must be starting to fidget.
11 hours late? That's quite something.
That meeting had already started when I arrived back here for this engagement with you. So, lateness was inevitable. Time stops for no man.
I'm sure it stopped for me during those 12 solid arguments and 223 reasons. Oh, yes. Where would I find Lord Van Zieks now?
I would assume he's at his office.
Right. I'll go and ask him about the attack in person. I want to get this straight from the horse's mouth.
Away with you now. I'm leaving Professor Hairbrain's defense entirely in your hands.
Oh, of course. Yes, thank you very much, my lord. Well, let's get... I'm actually surprised you don't get to talk to Iris here. I want to go to prosecutor's office. Ah, it really is like a vampire. He lives like a vampire.
Oh, so this is the legendary Reaper's office.
Yeah, it appears so.
Brr, sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it? What an amazingly deathly atmosphere.
Oh, is that? Hi there. That hooded figure was so still I hadn't noticed his or her presence. I wonder who it is.
What are you doing here?
Hi there. Not used to this angle from you. He's as unwelcoming as I thought he'd be. Actually, maybe even more so. Oh, I'm glad to see you're well.
I am.
So, who's the person over by the wall being, punished for something or other?
No punishment is taking place here.
Oh.
That's my apprentice, and he's sitting there of his own free will.
I didn't know you had an apprentice. It must be the same person who was pictured in the newspaper.
He's very able in combat, a requisite skill for anyone under my tutelage.
Are you referring to the attack on the Reaper that was reported in the papers?
The Reaper? I'd be interested to know the Reaper's true identity myself, assuming that he is such a fabled fiend genuinely inhabits our great courtrooms.
Well, you're being vague, I guess, maybe. I don't know. Question mark? Hey, look, it's all the things you break. Look at that fine collection of hollowed chalices and bottles neatly lined up here.
My hollowed bottles are filled with the essence of the finest grapes from the finest vineyards I visit. And I personally oversee these chalices being made by the finest crystal craftsmen in the world.
And yet you throw them around in court like they were worthless.
Yes, because this imbecile is so unimaginably and repeatedly wide of the mark sometimes.
Oh,
Before you open your mouth next time, you should consider the poor artisans whose work you defile.
so it's my fault. Silly me. How could I ever have thought otherwise? Lord Van Zeek's desk. Look, it's so stylish.
And that's a marble chess set beside it.
Chess. That's the Western version of our Japanese shogi game, isn't it? You know, I'm actually quite good at shogi problems.
Oh, really? You'd probably like chess problems in that case.
I'd love to challenge Lord Van Zeek sometime. To about his shogi problems.
If you only really want to challenge yourself, you can always do that on your own at home.
What else? Move it. What's this whole, set here?
Oh, look! It's a scale model of the Great Exhibition Showground.
That's amazing. I wonder why it's here.
Perhaps he made it to take his mind off the sadness of being too busy to attend in person.
Or perhaps he's too embarrassed to queue up for a ticket.
Surely it's obvious that I'm using it as an investigative aid. You Nipponese have no business painting others as overly reserved.
Ugh. I really didn't think he'd overhear that. You got a giant painting of yourself, boyo. That portrait really dominates the room, doesn't it? It's a very majestic outfit and pose, but sadly, whoever painted it didn't do a very good job of capturing Lord Van Zeek's facial features.
Yes, you're right. I mean, it's not far off, but the artist has exaggerated his subject's handsomeness, I think.
That reminds me. I heard Emperor Napoleon of France ordered artists to make him look more attractive when they painted him.
How vain. That's really not an attractive quality in a person, is it?
That portrait does not depict me. Surely that's immediately obvious.
Oh, then, who is it? Okay. Bats? They were bats!
Yes, the Reaper's familiars, I expect.
But what about the mute man in the dark cloak? I thought he was a familiar. Just not the flying kind.
He must be a dear friend of Mr. Reaper, then.
I think this familiar idea is more likely. Scary, though. Either way. Barrels. Look at all those ancient casks lining the wall there.
Casks in the Reaper's chambers. Are they caskets?
You don't think... all those people who escaped conviction in court are lying inside them dead, do you?
What ridiculous notions are you going through your head, man? This is my collection of fine vintages. Oh. Yeah, of course. Thank you for clearing that up.
Bruno and I were just musing to ourselves. Don't mind us, Mr. Reaper.
I wouldn't, if you hadn't invited yourselves to my office to talk nonsense within my earshot.
What about this guy? It really looks like a punishment to me.
I've never seen someone sitting in like that before.
He hasn't moved a muscle since we arrived. Do you think perhaps he's dead?
If he was dead, Bruno, he wouldn't be sitting up, would he?
Well, anyway, dead or alive, he's not overly approachable, is he? I don't think he's going to talk to us.
He's not dead.
Well, thanks all there is to that. Look at this. I know you've seen this around my arm before, but
What is it exactly?
it's the mark of a defense lawyer, in Japan at least.
And what's the reason for showing it to a British prosecutor?
Oh, well, I don't know, really.
I can understand, at least. There's merit in reminding yourself of who helped you become what you are today.
Oh,
But that's a personal matter. Something you may want to keep close at all times. Not something to flaunt.
no, I suppose not. Thank you for understanding, though. He was a lot nicer about that than I expected him to be. Look at this! Lord Van Zeeks, about the article in this paper.
Oh, yes. It seems there was a reporter nearby when this little skirmish took place. I had no idea I'd been photographed. It was careless of me.
It looks as though it was taken after the people who attacked you had run away, though.
Rest assured, the police have already apprehended every last one of them.
But there's someone else fighting alongside you, it seems. And I think it's the same man who's sitting over there as we speak, isn't it?
As I mentioned already, he's my apprentice.
Perhaps you could tell us a little more about him. Oh, hey, you're actually okay with that. Okay. What about last night's attack, though? Lord Strongheart said that the assault last night was some sort of revenge attack?
True. Carried out by henchmen of Odie Asmund's criminal organization. The investigation meant their arrests were imminent. Presumably some hope to kill me before that happened.
Odie Asmund.
He's always masqueraded as one of London's most powerful financiers. A global investor. But his enormous wealth came to him by underhanded means via his criminal activities.
And he used that money to buy himself a verdict of not guilty when he found himself in court, didn't he? Being prosecuted by you, Mr. Reaper.
But the man got his comeuppance in the end. Yesterday, in fact, in extraordinary circumstances, it was the most unusual cause of death.
I know about that. It was super high voltage instantaneous kinesis gone wrong. Mr. Asmund died when the demonstration on the public experimentation... Mr. Asmund died when the demonstration on the public experimentation stage ended in an enormous explosion.
Correct. And you think I have some kind of divine ability to cause an accident like that to happen, do you?
Well, no, that does seem a little far-fetched. If this man really is the fabled Reaper, then he has to be innocent of this particular death, at least.
It's strange how this has worked out, hasn't it, Bruno? Isn't it, Bruno? Sorry. I mean, what with you taking on the professor's defense for the trial tomorrow?
Well, you're going to be defending him.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Though I barely know the man's name yet, to be honest.
Albert. Albert Hairbrain.
That's right. Do you know him by any chance?
Of course. He's a contemporary of mine. We were at university together.
Oh, a friend of the Reaper.
You're... What?
Before we go to that, though, what do you mean by what you said before? If you'd like to know the Reaper's true identity, does that mean...
I'm a crown prosecutor and moral like any other. I'm no demigod.
But they all died, haven't they? The people you've prosecuted, I mean. Whether or not the trial ended in a conviction or acquittal.
Those I prosecute are the vilest wretches of our society. People who are without question and deserve to be found guilty. The world is a better place without them.
But that's not true of Mr. Natsume, for example. He wasn't a vile wretch at all.
Nor was Ginny. In fact, she's ever so hardworking now.
Oh, so Janie's alive still.
I can't deny that since I encountered you, things have taken a turn. But the point is this. If any of those vile wretches that escaped justice subsequently died in mysterious circumstances, it was at the hand of their own kind. It's not my work.
Lord Strongheart said the same. He believes you're not involved in any way.
But you were attacked by those ruffians because they believe it's true.
The fact is, since people started calling me the Reaper of the Bailey, the number of serious crimes in the capital has dropped substantially.
Oh.
It would appear that even the most hardened criminals can be made fearful for their lives.
Do you mean to say...
I mean to say that if my pseudonym serves as a useful purpose, I adopt it gladly and with honor.
But it's putting you in danger. You could be killed.
If that is my fate, let God decide.
Or Van Zeek's. What about your contemporary? And I understood that Professor Harebrain was from Germany, though.
Harebrain's from a respectable British family. After graduating from the University of London, he moved to Germany to carry out research, that's all.
So you were students together?
I was in the Faculty of Law, of course, and he in Science, so our paths really crossed. But curiously, we got along, though I've not met him since my university days. I certainly didn't expect our next encounter to take this form. And with you, of all people, representing him.
If only I make it out of this office alive. He's actually been charged with murder, it seems.
Yes, I know, because the prosecution will be handled by me.
By you? But you made it sound as if you and the professor had been friends.
We are friends, it's true.
Then why would you do this?
If the Reaper is the prosecutor, there's nothing anyone can do to save him. He's doomed.
What's Lord Van Zeek's thinking?
He's in my tutelage to become a prosecutor. So you could say he's my apprentice, I suppose. I just found this random guy, and now he's working for me, I guess.
So you are to Hurley. So like you are to Hurley then, Runo.
I don't remember taking an apprenticeship with Great Detective.
He's currently compiling a report about last night's attack.
It looks like he's wearing some kind of mask.
On Lord Strongheart's orders. Nobody knows the man's face, or indeed his identity.
But why would you agree to take such a clearly suspicious individual?
Lord Strongheart's orders again. He's not one for meaningless follies. There'll be a good reason for his actions.
I hope you're right. Hi.
The task is complete. Good. In that case, you can collate all the briefs.
Hi. Nice to meet you. Bye. Back to work again. That's really strange, though. I've never met the man before. I didn't even know he existed, and yet... somehow it didn't feel like our first encounter.
Don't bother trying to converse with them. He has nothing to say to anybody from outside this office. Lord Strongheart has strictly forbidden it.
Oh, I see.
Why are you so interested in my apprentice anyway?
Oh, no, I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to. The way he stood there so casually, yet with that flawless posture. Oh. This... I'll hold on, because I don't have nearly enough things to prove it yet, but I think I know where this is going. And if so, this changes a lot. A whole lot. It couldn't be. Well, maybe I can, but... whatever, I'll just wait.
Yes. There's been something I've been meaning to ask you.
Oh, what's that?
That Nipponese man, is he faring well?
Sorry?
The one arrested twice in succession 6 months ago. With the stoop, and the mustache, and the jitters.
Ah, Mr. Natsume, you mean?
I'm not sure he'd be very pleased to find out you identify him from that list, Runo.
He's fine, actually. Thank you. In fact, I received a letter from him by international post only the other day.
I see. Well, I think we can end our discussion here, don't you? There's little time left before tomorrow's trial. I advise you to spend it investigating the case.
Yeah, thank you for that advice. And for the conversation. I can't believe he's asking after Soseki-san. After a Nipponese. I'm not sure whether to feel happy about that or worried.
I will travel the globe to ensure that to kill him. No.
I never imagined that Mr. Reaper would be friends with the mad scientist, did you? That's a turn up for the books.
The mad scientist? Ah, you mean Professor Hairbrain. Yeah, it might be worth quizzing the professor about his relationship with Lord Van Zeeks, I think.
Get out of my room.
Alright, let's see this Hairbrain guy. He's sitting like I do. The warden's at cell 11. That's this one.
Oh, there's someone curled up in a ball in the back sack. Look.
What's his name again? Professor Albert Hairbrain, wasn't it? Excuse me. Professor Hairbrain. Who are you? Who are you? I'm Inosuke Naruhodo. I'm a defense lawyer.
A lawyer!
Was it something I said?
A lawyer? You say? Would you be here about the experiment? Are you going to defend my hypothesis?
Your hypothesis? Sorry, I don't...
Yesterday's demonstration! That magnificent demonstration was an out-and-out success by anyone's calculations. But despite that, no one listens. No lawyer believes in their science. When it's explained, they all leave at high velocity.
Are you good, sir? Now's probably not a good time to mention that your zeal made my concentration leave for a while, too. Hi there, sir. Look at this.
Ah, fascinating. Yes.
In Japan, where I come from, it's a symbol of a defense lawyer. Wearing it is very bracing, I find.
Your words make some sense to me, but they are entirely illogical.
What do you mean?
Well, for example, I find this white laboratory coat that I wear for my work very bracing too. However, in my case, there's a perfectly logical reason for that feeling.
Oh, really? What is it?
I purchased the wrong size by mistake. This one is too small for me. The sleeves, especially, are extremely bracing. I can barely move my wrist.
Get a new coat. That's what you call logical, is it?
Of course! It's extremely logical. That's science, Mr. Naruhodo. How do I know your name? Did you? No, did you say it? I don't know.
I think you did. I'm gonna go with you did. Wrong thing. Sir, you killed someone, or at least the news believes it.
How could this have happened?
You must feel awful. As well as the man losing his life, the Crystal Tower is greatly damaged, too.
I know what happened. It must have been that.
That?
The day before the demonstration, I had my usual meal at Frankfurters at the hotel restaurant. When I paid the bill, they gave me 3 shillings too much and change. But instead of saying that, I just slipped the coins into my pocket. They're still there now. It's divine retribution for my wrongdoing. That's what this is.
For a scientist, he has some very illogical anecdotes. Long and illogical. Well, let's start talking actual sense here. You mentioned the demonstration yesterday.
Papers have called it a spectacular failure. After all, a man died in the explosion, didn't he?
Yes, you could interpret the results that way if you really wanted to. Well, I suppose in the strictest sense, the experiment was a failure, but at the same time it was a great success.
You've lost me.
I saw with my own eyes, right there in front of me. Mr. Asman was spontaneously disassembled. Until then, everything was going exactly as my calculations had predicted. At that point, he should have been beamed to the Crystal Tower by instantaneous kinesis. However...
The machine exploded and Mr. Asman in fact perished.
Yes, I can't deny that part of the experiment was a failure.
So what you're really saying is, the large explosion that killed Mr. Asman was an accident, correct?
But the bigwigs have you arrested on suspicion of murder.
I was responsible for a man's death. That is an immutable truth here. And for that, I wish to be punished at once. But... murder? Never in a million years! It was an accident! Simply an accident!
I see.
Hurley and I were talking this morning, you know. He said that the situation would change completely depending on whether it was treated as an accident or murder.
How exactly?
Well, if it really was an accident, then the professor's machine would be kept in protective custody.
On what grounds?
Ah, yes. It's newly established here in Britain. The Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act.
That one passed me by.
But if the case is treated as murder...
And they'll say my machine was a murder weapon. And they'll be able to pour over it as much as they like. If they examine it in detail, they'll find out how it's made, and then they'll be able to copy my idea. My precious hypothesis will be stolen. The machine must be protected from that at all cost. That's why it's imperative this whole incident is shown to have been an accident in tomorrow's trial.
Ah, I see now. What about this instantaneous kinesis stuff? So in short, there was a terrible accident at the Great Exhibition's showground yesterday.
Yes! Or rather no, the devil's in the details. Strictly speaking, there was a terrible explosion.
Sounds the same to me.
You were demonstrating super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, weren't you? Weren't you? How fascinating.
Humans, like all matter, are made up of particles that are held together by electrical bonds. So it must be possible, using a sufficiently high voltage, to break those bonds and beam the particles through space. That's in a nutshell. That's my idea, you see. That's my amazing hypothesis.
Gosh, that's unimaginably high-level science.
Oh, but dare to imagine it! Dare to dream of such incredible technology! Just think, one moment I could be here in the cell, and the next, I could be at the Great Exhibition again.
Well, yes, that would be incredible.
And then next, in the mere blink of an eye, I could be at the Great Parisian Theatre, I'd say. The possibilities are endless! The whole of our vast planet would be within reach!
So, no more hiding in wardrobes on rocky seas for 50 days?
I don't really see it like that.
What do you mean, Iris?
Well, if you could travel anywhere in the world instantly, the planet wouldn't really seem vast anymore, would it? I think it would feel like it had shrunk.
My word! That's exactly right! What are the implications? What does this mean?
Oops, that's got the Professor Bunny brain really worried about it, by the looks of it.
Clearly this is yet another case of just because you can doesn't mean you should, I suppose.
The point is, my calculations are flawless. The science works. But without a practical demonstration, it means nothing. And that's always the fly in the ointment.
Because practical demonstrations cost a lot of money. Money that young scientists like you don't have.
That's exactly it, yes.
Hurley's always complaining about it. He always says the government should invest more in science.
Well, anyway, I bumped into him at the right time. I met the well-known investor, Mr. Asman.
The victim who died in yesterday's terrible accident, you mean? Before we talk about him, what about the Reaper's varsity years? I understand Lord Van Zieks is a friend of yours from your university days?
Yes, that's right. He was studying law whilst I was studying science.
What was he like back then?
A good question. Unassuming, gentlemanly, and all-around nice fellow, really.
Eh? Sorry, I think you misheard me. I'm talking about the cold-hearted, merciless prosecutor, Barrett Von Zieks. What was he like when he was at university?
Talk about a leading question, Bruno.
As I said, an unassuming, extremely pleasant gentleman. After all, he is a little darling of the Van Zieks family, with all his great aristocratic origins.
I didn't realize he had quite such a noble blood.
Little darling?
It was a bit of a shock when I came back to Britain and learnt what he'd become. The Reaper of the Bailey, no less.
Yeah, that's right.
I did hear, though, that there was a very big event in his life that completely changed him after graduation.
Really? What sort of event?
I'm sorry, but I don't know anymore. I wasn't in the country at the time. I was in Germany already.
Oh, yeah, of course. If he's heard all about the Reaper, I really don't have the heart to tell him that Lord Van Zieks will be the prosecutor in the court tomorrow. The full name of the man who died in yesterday's accident was Mr. Odie Asman, right? Wasn't it? What exactly was your relationship with the man?
He first visited me in my laboratory in Germany a year ago now. He said he wanted to invest in my immaculate hypothesis. I think to my lucky stars.
I see. So you hadn't really known each other until then.
Money for scientific research. I'm so envious.
As far as I was concerned, the man was an angel.
Oh, really?
An archangel, even. He was prepared to fund a practical demonstration of my hypothesis for a presentation at the great exhibition. And if that went well, I could expect additional financial support from my research from the British government. Mr. Asman provided me with money and an exceptional engineer. He produced a machine to my precise specifications.
But then, your dreams were blown to dust in one enormous explosion.
As you can see, I owed everything to Mr. Asman. I would never, ever have thought of taking the man's life.
Well, he seemed genuine enough. I don't think he's lying. I don't think he's a killer, obviously. He's a defendant. So, Professor, let me just make absolutely sure I've understood you properly. The huge explosion that occurred yesterday, that was an accident, you're saying. You had no intent to harm the victim, who was in fact the sole investor in your work. Is that correct?
As correct as 2 squares is 4! I swear! Yes, it's true that the man perished in the machine of my invention. So I know that I'm far from blameless in all this, but still, I would never use my discoveries, my inventions, to take a person's life. Not in a centillion years. I'm a man of science. It's all I know. You have to believe me, please. Do you believe me? Do you believe in my hypothesis? Science is the pursuit of truth, you know. I've always believed that, all my life.
I'm afraid I don't know much about science, or your theories, but I do believe you, and I will fight to prove your innocence with all my might. I'm a man of the law. It's all I know. You have to believe me. Please.
When I went to live in Germany after I graduated, I learned something very important. Nationality, class, lineage, none of that matters. As long as you try your hardest, you can achieve anything.
Thank you for that, Professor.
And thank you in advance for defending me tomorrow in court.
Alright, Bruno. It's time. Time to visit the Great Exhibition.
Sorry?
Well, that's where the incident happened, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Time to investigate at last. See you later, Hairbrain. Also, nice afro? Afro. I can already see some things catching my interest. Ugh. The showgrounds are a little too big for my liking. We've been walking around in dense crowds for 2 hours now, and I've felt myself swooning 3 times.
There are a lot of people, aren't there? I've almost been trodden on 3 times, too.
Be careful, won't you, Iris? Don't let go of my hand. We finally made it through the throngs, though, by the look of it. Here we are, underneath the public experimentation stage where that explosion happened yesterday. Oh, yeah. Oh? What's that? What's that? I can hear voices from up on the stage. Sounds like an argument. Oh, hey, it's you two.
Right, I've had it with you this time. I'm warning you, I'll arrest you in a minute.
Oh, yeah? Go on then, Inspector. Give it a shot. You ain't got no evidence, and you know it.
Wait, I know those voices.
You've got that cheeky little mouth on you, young lady, but a night in the stairs will teach you some manners.
Just try it, I dare you. If you want that bag of chips of yours right down your throat. Yoo-hoo! Gregsy, what are you doing up there?
It's you! Here! You're here! You here! Your ladyship! How are you, your ladyship? I do hope you're well, your ladyship.
Does that make her 3 times a lady?
I'm not well at all. It's far too busy everywhere. I wanted to ride in a balloon, but there was a 3-hour queue.
Unbelievable. I'll go and have a word at once, your ladyship. You'll be flying as high as a kite in no time at all once I pull some strings for you.
Tobias Gregson, an inspector at Scotland Yard, who I'm surprised is not fired right now, considering the last case of the last game. How'd you keep your job, sir? Well, then again, I got to keep my job, so maybe I shouldn't be surprised. Until recently, he was suspended from duty, but it would appear he's back in action now. He's actually quite well known, appearing as he does in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. And for that reason, he can't say a word wrong to the story's author, Iris. But there are limits, surely. Or there should be.
What's it, sunshine?
Sorry.
What gives then? Don't tell me you're on this case.
Yeah, I'm acting for the defense.
So we're here to investigate.
DMA, that's the situation, is it? Is it really that troubling?
I'm easily fought, Bob. That's all you got?
Did you steal my money?
You're a lawyer, ain't you? You can stand to carry a bit more copper around your pockets, Mr. Naruto.
What? Hey, that's my last bit of spending money, that is.
You can't have it back, but I'll have to you can have it back, but I have to charge you for it. Oh, the bother. 3 bob.
I saved you in court! This is Gino Lestrade, a pickpocket or diver, bred in the East End of London. In the case that led to my own suspension 6 months ago, this is the young girl I was defending in court.
What's your problem, huh?
Odo, diver, pickpocket, what's with all the name calling? You got better chips rammed down your throat, no, do you?
I thought you were proud to be a diver, Gina. You were just arguing with Inspector Gregson about it, weren't you? I assumed you'd been up to your usual tricks here at the showground.
That ain't no way to talk to a lady, Odo. Half a year's a long time. People can change. I'm an apprentice now. Learning to be a Scotland Yard detective.
Oh. Huh. You're a detective now. That's funny.
So you'll have to call me what everyone else does. The Inspector, it's Inspector Lestrade now.
Inspector? That badge is homemade, surely. Inspector Pot isn't entirely accurate. No one calls her that. From what it's worth, anyway. Investigating is off the cards for all of us.
What's that supposed to mean?
Alright, well, I'll be back up top. You hold down the fort down here, alright? Right, sir. Oh, at least went from being a criminal to the part of the police. This raises a lot of questions. Agreed. And you still got your theme. Delightful. I want to examine the things that immediately catch my interest first off. This?
Oh, look. What's this? A piece of ripped cloth.
Huh. It's not like any fabric I've ever seen before. It's very thick and stiff. It looks extremely durable. I wonder, is it like a hot air balloon material or whatever? But then again, people would know if that was the case.
It's canvas, I think, with some sort of rubber backing. And the edges appear to have been charred as well.
Maybe that means it had something to do with the explosion.
Let's make a note of it while Ginny is mid-yawn.
Yoink! A torn piece of canvas-like material backed with rubber that was found under experimentation stage at the exhibition grounds. There are scorch marks at the edges. What's all this? For some reason, the ground is damaged in the spot. Look. Almost as if there was a fire here or something.
Yes, if you look closely, there's some scattered ash and burnt embers too.
Well, I suppose there was a big explosion just above here. People probably wouldn't bat an eyelid at a small fire like this. A small fire like this would have been.
I'm not sure we English are quite that laid back, Bruno.
What's this thing?
It looks as though somebody dropped something behind the tree there.
It looks like a crossbow to me, honestly. Dropped or hid? What is this? Some part of a machine that exploded?
Maybe. It could have fallen from the platform above in blast, perhaps. What's going on here?
Oh! Nothing! I think I'll hang on to this, just in case. A very curious device found behind a tree under the experimentation stage of the exhibition grounds, almost as if it had been hidden there deliberately. The crystal? The Crystal Tower. It's certainly an apt name. It was built to be the focal point of the exhibition, and it definitely is, being so tall and with all that glass. I can't imagine a building like this ever being erected in Japan.
There are lots of exhibits in the tower as well, apparently. Of course there's an observation deck, but there's also an art gallery, a zoo, and a museum. But I heard you have to queue for 3 hours just to get through the doors.
Well, at the moment, we shattered the shattered glass from the failed experiment may well be the biggest draw.
And thanks to that accident, the whole tower's shut.
Suddenly, it's not the Crystal Tower anymore, but the Crystal Glass Shower.
Apparently everyone's taking to the skies now to look down on the disaster area from above instead. But there's a 3-hour queue to go up in a balloon now.
Wonders must be very patient people. Not me. I can look up, too. Also, the cove up ended up after this instant kinesis or whatever they call it, data course. And yet they are calling the experiment a success.
What's the wooden scaffolding there for?
The coppers, our lad said, hit that up after the incident happened. To get the body down, I think. Dunno, really. Didn't you help to erect the scaffold, then?
Nah, lookout duty's more my thing. On around the exhibit and keeping a lookout for the fun stuff.
Mind Gregson doesn't hear you saying that, or he'll give you the boot. It's incredible, though, isn't it? I mean, could the victim really have bridged that gap by some sort of invisible kinesis? Flag? Thing? Balloon. I've been meaning to ask you for a while now, but what are those funny round blobs floating in the sky?
Oh, they're flying balloons I've been talking about. I want to go up in one so much.
I've read about situations like this in a magazine about strange phenomena. creatures from outer space coming in round flying objects to attack Earth.
What?
I suppose inhabitants of other planets are bound to be interested in the Great Exhibition. This is it, Iris. It's happening.
It's not. Don't worry. I'll explain it all to you later over a nice cup of tea, Bruno.
Aliens!
Allow me to check. Anything special about this? It looks like a layer of thick canvas with a rubber, with a thick rubber lining of sorts. I've never seen anything like it before. But applying Mr. Shone's methods, you might deduce it was part of a raincoat worn by someone who really, really didn't want to get wet. And the charring must have occurred when the person was struck by lightning. Or maybe not. Iris didn't even say a thing. Wrong button. So what about this thing? What the lever? What lever? Never mind. Got this. There's some sort of lever here. Oh, it is a crossbow. What the? What is this? It looks like a cross between a bow and a gun. I think it's probably used for the same thing, too. A crossbow, a weapon found hidden behind a tree under the exhibition stage at the exhibition grounds. Experimentation stage at the exhibition grounds. Turns out that's a folding crossbow. Well, well, well. What could this have been used for? This groove here. Must be where arrows are loaded, I suppose. So I was right. It's a sort of bow with an automatic firing mechanism. This would be perfect for someone like me who catches his ear with a bowstring 2 times out of 3. In fact, if I had one of these, maybe I could have beaten Cosmo in Kyoto archery training. It looks like you would wind this around in order to draw the bowstring back and create tension. You must be able to fire arrows with a huge amount of force using this device then. In fact, I would imagine it's far more accurate and powerful than a Japanese longbow. Ugh. I really had no idea what I was picking up when I spotted this at the exhibition grounds. Trigger. Anything else? The string? So this is a crossbow, though. Well, gotta figure out what this is used for. Hey, Gina. It was 8 months ago now that I first encountered Gina in connection with a case I was working on. At the time, she was living in the East End with a group of other orphans. She helped all of them survive by pickpocketing, but then she got embroiled in a murder.
I had a lot of time to think in prison. I realized I couldn't go on like I was. The diving weren't working out. I'm so pleased to hear it, Ginny. Well done.
So, you went from being a pickpocket to a detective?
You all right? Good, innit? Inspector Lestrade. Sounds like some out of a book, eh?
Talk about a sea change.
And then there's Iris' old man to think about.
Iris' father, you mean?
Yeah, I promised it, didn't I? I said I'd get to all the police forces around the world to pull out all the stops looking for him.
Just a small promise then, nothing serious.
Oh, Ginny, you're so sweet. So anyway, I saw how come I had to go at the test for Scotland Yard. Only trouble is, I don't read so well, do I?
Just a small problem, nothing serious.
And that's when Hurley approached Grexy and asked for help. So the inspector said he'd take full responsibility for Ginny and made her a sort of apprentice.
That's a very magnanimous. That was very magnanimous of Inspector Gregson, and brave.
Well, you know Hurley. He enjoys finding ways to make people do what he wants.
The great detective likes digging for dirt, in other words.
So, the long and short of it is, if you've got questions about the case, you can ask Inspector Lestrade.
Right then, Inspector. Actually, there's still a big mystery surrounding Gina, is there?
Oh, what, Bruno? What?
Well, 6 months ago, Gina was the defendant in a trial prosecuted by the Reaper. A trial in which she was found not guilty, and yet here she is still.
Come on, you're still not all about that, are you? The Legend of the Reaper, whatever it's called. Cool, you don't have to worry, Odo.
If I didn't have to worry, there probably wouldn't be a whole lot of you left.
It's like I told you before, ain't it? The Reaper's kinda like him upstairs, so he knows what I'm on, like on the inside. That I ain't really done nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong might be stretching a point.
What about Mr. Natsumi in Japan? He's perfectly fine, isn't he?
Well, that's true. Perhaps the Reaper is more discerning than I thought.
Exactly. So I ain't worried. I'm totally fine. God, that was all this world it was. The brainy bloke pulled a bunch of levers on this machine and suddenly it started billowing smoke. Then it just went pop. I ain't seen a better experiment here yet.
Sorry?
You mean, you saw it, Ginny? With your own eyes?
Yeah, of course. The boss is in charge here, eh? I'm keeping everything running smooth, I mean.
The boss being Inspector Gregson, I suppose. That's going to take some getting used to.
So all I have to say is I'm on duty, and I can do whatever I want to. Get this, I was up in one of them flying balloons when it happened, watching it from above.
No, you're so lucky, Ginny. Maybe I should join Scotland Yard too.
Yeah, do it. You know I'll put the boss in his place, alright? Right, Iris? Yeah, you'd have no trouble at all.
And settled. When do I start?
No. You can't join Scotland Yard, Iris.
We'll see. Anyway, what I don't understand is this. If the machine explodes so spectacularly, how can Professor Bunnybrain still be claiming that this experiment was a success?
Oh, right. Well, it was a success, in a way.
It was? How could it have been? Sorry, I wanted to check something also. Sorry, I wanted to check something also. It's my voice. It's weird. About the investigation. Something Inspector Gregson said before seemed a little strange. I gotta move things. For what it's worth, anyway. Investigating is off the cards for all of us.
Yes, naughty old Gregsy ran off after that without explaining himself.
Alright, that. The boss said no one's allowed to investigate that weird machine what blew up yesterday.
Well, that's not fair. We're representing the defendant.
In that case, could you at least tell us what you've learned from your investigations?
Nah, you're not getting in it. Gotten it. We ain't allowed to investigate neither.
Why?
What did the boss call 'em again? The forensic investigation team, I think. Anyway, apart from them lot, no one's allowed to lay a finger on the scene. Bit funny, ain't it?
So even Scotland Yard's own detectives can investigate. Yeah, never heard of something like that before.
I thought I could have a gander on the quiet though. The boss caught me at it. You probably heard him giving me an earful about before from down here, didn't you? It's not bleeding fair.
I think you were giving him as much of an earful back as I remember it.
Yeah, well, sometimes I think it's all in them chips what make him so stubborn. You say something for him, Odo. Come on, see if you can't get through him.
He's up on the platform above us, is he? The machine that exploded is?
We can try, can't we, Bruno? Gregsy will listen to us.
What about the success of it? Surely after the whole machine blew up, no one could call the experiment a success.
It's like I said, it did sort of work. I mean, yeah, there was a load of smoke and a whopping great bang. But where do you think they found the victim's body, eh? In the crystal tower over there.
What? In the tower? Yeah.
You can see for yourself, can't you? Up there, above the scaffold.
Oh, where all the glass is broken, you mean?
Yeah, the cage what the victim got in to start with. Really did get beamed through the air or whatever and landed all the way over there. So you see, it did kind of work, didn't it? What? I don't believe it. I mean, I don't get the ins and outs of it, but anything's possible, right? The science. Well, I'll tell you what, they're others. It's around the experiment they drew up at the yard.
Are you sure?
Yeah, go on. I had 3 bob off you before, so fair's fair.
Yes, I didn't actually give that to you. Did I? Hey, Gina. Anyways, a diagram showing the relative positions of the Crystal Tower and Professor Hairbrain's machine that exploded. Let me take a look at this. Yeah, I don't know what I can tell from this. I think I examined this. This platform must have been set up for the experiment, I suppose. Very high up.
About 30 feet above the ground, apparently. That's what a policeman I just spoke to said.
I don't really understand feet very well. We don't use them in Japan.
Oh, yes, sorry. It's about 9 meters. Assume you'll have to been in London a year, Bruno. It's time you got used to our measurements.
Yes, well, this thing is so tall that spectators at the front would just have seen a wall and nothing else.
They probably thought they'd secured the best spot to watch from, only to be disappointed.
There's a saying in Japan, the darkest spot is right under the lighthouse. I feel like it probably applies here. Oh, hey. These stairs obviously lead to the stage above. We should go up there and investigate the exact spot where the experiment was being conducted. There it is. So that's it, is it? The machine that blew up, yeah?
Oh, it must have been this magnificent explosion. I'd seen my fair share.
You've seen things like this before, you mean?
Of course, Hurley's always doing experiments that end in a bang. In fact, in his own words, explosions are the very essence of chemistry.
Ah! That might explain the smell of burning that frequently comes wafting up the stairs.
One time he made something explode with such force, it took the roof off the building. I wish you'd been there to see it, Bruno.
It's hard to get too excited about that, given that I now live in the roof.
Well, anyway, that's enough about that. Time to investigate.
Oh. Ah, look, Inspector Gregson is over there. He seems to be deep in thought about something, whilst eyeing them up the machine carefully.
Really? He just looks confused to me.
Alright. While he's whoa, what? I didn't click that. What? I want to look at this down here. Never mind, I can't look at that down there. Look at the Ferris wheel. What is that gigantic thing over there? Looks like an enormous water wheel.
Oh, that's a Ferris wheel. There'll be people riding it in those little cabins you can see.
Why?
Well, they rotate nice and slowly, so it's a wonderful way to see the surrounding scenery.
Wait, it's turning? But it looks completely still.
Yes, that's because it's turning so slowly. One complete revolution takes about half an hour.
If you were mad enough to go in one, it would be more than fun to whiz around fast, don't you think?
I feel as though you might have just invented a new sort of ride there, Reno.
There are all sorts of strange buildings here in the Grey Exhibition Grounds, aren't there? I seem to remember something similar being exhibited in Japan one time.
Oh, in your country, Reno. I do wish I could go and see it. I'd present a particularly steely samurai with a present of one of Hurley's stories I'd written specially. And see if I couldn't get Hurley into a jam against the Baritsu Master Jinjas.
You might not find as many of those sorts of people as you think.
Well, that's dull.
Oh, I do know a prosecutor with a Conmaj top knot that I could introduce to.
Konmaj, really? Do you think I could have my picture taken with him, do you?
Assuming he's recovered from the, trim Cosmo gave him a year ago, yes. How's this? It ripped itself apart magnificently, didn't it?
Magnificently. And mercilessly.
So someone stands in the middle of the machine to be disassembled and then beamed through the air?
Yes, beamed. not blasted. That's the point.
Yeah, that part's crucial, really. Is something like that even possible, though, Iris?
Oh, Reno. I'm just a child. How should I know?
A child when it suits you, you mean?
From what I can tell, I think if you were to pull this lever here... Stop! Don't touch it! That was practically instantaneous kinesis the way you flew over here just now, Gregsy.
Please, your ladyship. I didn't mean to startle you, but I can't let you touch anything up here.
So sorry, you can have some of my latest special blend to make up for it.
Wonderful. This stuff really is wonderful.
It's just like old times, this is. Well, we're representing Professor Harebrant in court tomorrow, Inspector. So we should be allowed to examine the scene. Ah, listen, Sunshine. Even I'm not allowed to touch anything over here.
It's a blasted special dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act to blame for. It's driving me potty.
Oh yeah, the special dispensation... The professor mentioned that too.
All red tape's all we need. I don't know what the government thinks is playing out sometimes.
But we're allowed to just look, aren't we?
Hey,
Surely that's alright, isn't it, Gregsy?
of course, your ladyship. Anything you say, your ladyship, but don't get your dainty hands dirty, will you?
Yeah, that's as good as we're gonna get.
Don't worry. We wouldn't dream of touching anything, would we, Reno?
She really knows how to skip text. She really knows how to get what she wants. Let's start with... Allow me to ask you something, Inspector. Every item here. What do you make of this? I've got a gun. Let me examine now. Never mind. Green. Paper. Inspector, have you read this paper?
Yeah, doing welcome blast back to past. This one exhibiting the Reaper getting attacked.
I know. Terrible news to wake up to, wasn't it?
I try to pretend I aren't ready and turned over for another 40 winks.
Thanks a lot.
I was late up and getting a roasting from the super.
Some mornings are like that, aren't they? Look at my armband. This is the symbol of defense layer where I come from, Inspector.
Well, it doesn't pass muster here in London. Might as well chuck it in the deep fat fry.
No one's ever said that to me before. Mr. Shum suggested I feed it to a dog, though.
If you're right first, you can feed it to me.
Huh? Does he think it's made of potato? Okay. I was not expecting that. Good to know, Greg. Good to know. Using his high voltage electricity to somehow disassemble a man's body, and then beam him up across the crystal tower, it's an extraordinary thing to attempt, especially in public.
True. It was by far the most unusual of the experiments planned for the exhibition, man.
To be honest, I'm a bit surprised it was allowed. Carrying out something so dangerous with so many spectators present, I mean.
The government's doing everything it can to promote new science and technology at the moment. They're more worried about being ahead of the game than any else by public safety infringement. If they can be the first to develop some new technology, it makes Britain more powerful in the future, you see.
Yeah, I suppose that's true, in a way.
So the powers that be are placing a heavy emphasis on scientists' rights at the moment.
What sort of rights?
They're making so that any theories the brains have remain their legal property, as it were. Right through developing into a practical idea and even going into production. Which is the infuriating reason us coppers that aren't allowed to touch this crime scene. Because the new and highfalutin special dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act forbids it.
Ah, I see now.
The only people with permission to investigate are here from some brand new department at the yard. The Forensic Investigation Team, it's called. We've been relegated to keeping guard.
Forensic Investigation Team?
Any old fool could see that this is a heap of scrap metal was a sham to begin with. But just because it says scientific equipment on the paperwork, we can't do a flaming thing about it.
Poor Grexy. He's very head up, isn't he?
Give some tea, quick. Remind me again, what's this new legal act that means we're not allowed to touch a senior?
All you haven't at me, sunshine, is a special dispensation for scientific equipment act.
Yes, I think Hurley mentioned that recently, with a real twinkle in his eyes as I remember.
I'm sure he did, your ladyship, I'm sure he did. Passed especially for a great exhibition it was. All scientists have to do is present their ideas or inventions to some suits in the civil service. And if it gets rubber stamped, that's a guarantee of rights. It's to maintain the invention's confidentiality.
What does that really mean?
Think about it. Think of all the world-changing new inventions on display every day at this exhibition. Although a good half of them are a load of cobblers, if you ask me, put forward by shammers like yourself.
Thanks for that.
Oh, I love how absurd some of the inventions here are. It's also fun.
It might be fun to you, but a member of the force has to be present at every single demonstration. Can you imagine it? Hang up science, that's what I say.
Oh, I don't think so. That sounds like my dream job.
You'd soon think otherwise after spending a day on all these shammers' bogus contraptions.
If they're all bogus, how can anyone hope to demonstrate them? There'd be no point.
Well, there is a point, sadly.
Sorry?
Thanks to another of our government's bright ideas, if any theory or invention is deemed to show potential, the government hands out a research grant.
The scientists get funding?
Exactly. And that's what they're all after. All these shammers come from far wide to clog up Hyde Park. And who's to keep them all safe, eh? Who has to smile politely and welcome us? Them. Us coppers, that's who. So you can see why I say it now, can't you? Hang science. Hang it.
Oh, maybe I can see your point.
What about Professor Harebrain? Apparently Professor Harebrain lives and works in Germany now, conducting his research.
That's right. Came back to Britain especially for the great exhibition, as I understand it. Probably after one of the government's research grants.
Actually, we learned something else about the professor earlier today. About his time in further education. Turns out he was at university with someone we both know, Lord Van Zeeks.
What's that? That's news to me. But if Van Zeeks mans the prosecution, then as the accused, the professor's fate is
sealed? Because the Reaper will get him one way or another?
Blimey, that man's beyond me. I don't know what goes on in his head, in that head of his. Talking of Van Zeeks, this morning's paper ran the story of him being attacked. Read that?
Oh yes, but Mr. Reaper's completely fine. Nothing to worry about.
Yes, right. Glad to hear it. Still, the Reaper, how long's that business going to keep up, I wonder?
The victim of this case, the investor, Mr. Asman, he was another of the Reaper's victims, or so I heard.
Lord Van Zeeks is a top-class prosecutor, but even he can't always push the right verdict through. Sometimes justice can't win.
Yeah, I've heard about jurors being bribed and evidence being falsified. And that's how the notion of the Reaper of the Bailey came about, isn't it?
Obviously, Scotland Yard suspected Van Zeeks initially. We all assumed he was taking matters into his own hands if he failed to seal a deal in court.
Although the man himself denies that charge.
Well, we've done a very thorough investigation, and the conclusion we reached is that Lord Van Zeeks is in no way related to the deaths of those people outside the courtroom. There's no question in my mind. I'd stake my reputation on it, I would.
But if that's true, how do you explain it? All those defendants couldn't just have coincidentally died if nobody killed them.
I know that, but I can't explain it.
Could someone be, like, stalking the Reaper and basically doing it for them? That would have to be someone higher up then, wouldn't it? Like someone higher up, taking matters into their own hands to deliver true justice in their mind, I guess.
It's a mystery after all, isn't it? That's the whole point of the Reaper.
Professor Harebrain mentioned something else. He said that at university, Lord Van Zeeks was a totally different person, easygoing and kind. You what? He said that it was after they both graduated that something happened to the man, to change the man. Do you have any idea what it was? No clue. Really? Look, I've got my hands full watching over this frustrating crime scene. Why don't you go and make a nuisance of yourselves elsewhere, eh? Well... Wait, I can probably examine things again, can't I? Considering how badly damaged everything is, Professor Hairbrain's lucky to escape unscathed, I'd say. We should have a good look around the machine while we can, I think.
Touch anything and I'll make sure I kill you before I get strong myself, yeah?
I won't touch a thing, I promise.
So please, spare a thought for your digestion.
Anyway, do you really think this machine could actually disassemble people like the professor claims?
He asked, looking totally incredulous. Give it a rest, sunshine. If we were allowed to examine all this bleeding scrap metal, maybe we could answer that question. But we can't, can we?
Because of the annoying rules, you mean?
Exactly! The annoying, obstructive, flaming rules!
Oh, look at the base of that machine there.
Oh yes, there's a tool of some kind poking through the wire mesh.
It's a screwdriver, I think.
Oh, isn't it a lovely one? The handle is in the shape of a capital letter A.
It is? Oh, yeah, you're right.
What's the matter with you? Don't touch anything, I said! Touch anything, I'll make sure I kill you before I get strong up myself, I said!
Yes, I understand, sorry. I only touched it a teeny weeny bit.
But Grexy, I'm very curious about the screwdriver. Really very, very curious.
Of course, your ladyship, you're so clever, your ladyship. Fancy spotting something like this. But I'm afraid I can't let you have it.
But Reno found it first.
I assure you, I'll investigate thoroughly.
Bye. He's gone off with it. I thought you weren't allowed to touch it. Whatever, that's his problem now.
That was very mean. I'm afraid. Inspector Gregson is gonna make a very clumsy and embarrassing mistake in next month's installment now.
My sorrow.
Poor Gregsy.
My sorrow.
Right. Are you done here, Mr. Naruto?
Sorry?
Isn't it about time you were leaving? Or rather,
It is about time you were leaving.
that lot are here now.
That lot?
Forensic investigation team. They'll be giving me the heave-ho in a minute. It do.
Oh dear, poor Grexy. Here, have another cup of my special blend to cheer you up.
Ah, that hit the spot. It's it every time.
Well, at least I've seen the scene with my own eyes. It looks like this is as far as we're going to get with our investigation here, at least.
I've been thinking. What? Hurley might know something, mightn't he?
About what?
About Mr. Reaper.
About what happened to Lord Van Zeeks, you mean? Question though, where is he? Because it sounds like something very significant occurred after he graduated from university. Something that completely changed his life. Maybe, but I have no idea where to find Mr. Shumps at the moment. He's in the middle of some big case, isn't he?
Here, this is what you need.
What's this? Some kind of entrance ticket? Madame Tusples. Is this supposed to mean something to me?
You don't know it? It's the most popular attraction in London at the moment. It's very close to Baker Street, actually. We could go now if you like.
No, we don't have time for visiting attractions today, Iris. We have a big trial tomorrow.
But that's where Hurley is.
What? At this popular London attraction?
Yes,
How is it that you know where he is?
Hurley told me. But he told me to keep it a secret from you, Bruno.
Madame Tusples. I don't see how it could be related to the case we're investigating here, but then... stranger things have happened, and when they happen, Mr. Shums is usually at the heart of them. Well, you know what that means. Mr. Shums! What? What? What is this place? Look at all these terrifying scenes. Why are all the people so still? Guillotines, ruthless murders. I know what I'll be dreaming about tonight.
They're all wax models.
Oh.
They're amazingly realistic, aren't they? What do you think, Bruno? Shocked?
Wax models? I read about dead bodies of wax once in a magazine about strange phenomena. Depending on how corpses are kept after death, parts of them can turn to wax, apparently. It's called, adipocry here.
Stop talking about creepy things like that, Bruno. You're scaring me. Anyway, adipocure doesn't form readily, you know. It's only in very specific... What now?
I just remembered something else I read in another magazine about strange phenomena. There was an old lady, maybe a witch, who used to pour molten wax over corpses and put them on display.
None of the exhibits in here are real. They're all entirely man-made replicas.
They can't be! Do you really expect me to believe that? Just look at them!
Oh.
There's no way anybody could make models of people that are this realistic. And they're all... Oh, for the love of it! Ay, ay, ay. What are you doing, Sholmes? Actually, rephrase that question. What are you not doing, Sholmes? And they're all such gruesome scenes. Wait.
What is it?
Oh, no. I must be seeing things. Oh, guess we're back here. Need a hand? Bad joke. Is this an arm?
Need a hand? No. It looks like an arm, doesn't it? Maybe one of the waxwork models has fallen over.
You don't think it could be the work of one of the mass murderers in here, do you?
Bruno, stop scaring me.
Is it a wax arm or a real one?
Come on, you're always pointing that finger of yours in court. Poke that arm now and see how it feels.
Objection! That big heavy curtain is in a very prominent position, isn't it? I have a nasty feeling that there's going to be something truly terrifying behind it.
Oh yes, that's the famous Tussville's special exhibit. It depicts one of England's most notorious killers. You want to pay the extra fee and have a look?
Pay more money to be even more terrified? Ooh, let me think about that for a moment.
It was only a suggestion.
These models are so well made, I can't tell what's a waxwork and what's real human.
Or maybe all the exhibits are real people. And when it's closing time and all the visitors have gone home, they suddenly start moving about.
Just thinking about it makes me wish it was closing time already and I was on my way home. Hair... Is this some infamous murder?
Yes, called Jane the Ripper. All the victims were young women.
Woman?
Women.
I knew it! You can tell by the way she's holding that knife. Sure sign of murder.
Well, yes.
Ugh.
What's the matter, Bruno?
I blurted out. I know what she's doing. She's trying to fill that bathtub with blood so she can have a soak in her victim's gore.
Not according to the information about the exhibit on the little board here. It doesn't mention anything about the bathtub.
Really?
Sorry, I don't think it's significant.
I still think there has to be a reason for it.
foot?
Oh, that's a funny place for a little ladder. What is it? Something wrong?
Don't do it. No, it's just in Japanese we have a totally different word for a ladder that folds in half like that.
We do in English too, you know. It's a step ladder, or just steps. So be careful making assumptions about other cultures, Runo. That's how wars are started.
I didn't realize step ladders were an international point of contention, but the writer makes an astute point. Ugh. Is this an example of Western Sujigiri?
I don't know what that is.
You know, when an unscrupulous samurai randomly attacks a passerby to test his sword.
I still don't know, no. But actually, a waxwork samurai would probably be hugely popular. Could you model it, do you think, Runo? Doing that Sujigiri thing you mentioned.
Well, I do have a sword, but I have no intention of testing how sharp it is on a human subject, for now at least. I have not been angered to that degree just yet. Alright. I 100% believe it's Sholmes. It's... the great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes! Sholmes has his own wax statue in here, really?
Well, he is world famous after all.
An uncanny resemblance, isn't it? Makes my skin crawl to look at it.
I know. But look, Bruno, you can kick this Hurley, and he doesn't move a muscle.
Ow. You can't go around kicking the exhibits. I am in the supreme agony! You can't go around kicking the exhibits, sire. Wait. It just moved, I'm sure, and not just a little bit either.
Really? Did it?
It's moving its eyes. And look closely. There are beads of sweat on the face of this waxwork model. Shall we move on, Iris? Over there, look, there's a great murder scene to enjoy. Much more appealing.
Hold it!
My dear fellow, I take exception to your recoiling in such a manner as if you've seen something truly abhorrent. Mr. Sholmes! I knew it. Iris, what possessed you? I strictly forbade you from divulging my temporary waxwork secret to Mr. Narhodo.
Temporary waxwork? What do you mean?
Could you not have exercised a little more restraint? You winded me.
But Bruno has something he needs to ask you.
Ah, a question.
And I thought you'd probably be getting bored too. So here we are.
Well, I can't deny that your timing was impeccable. A mere 2 minutes and more being stationary like that, and my great brain, upon which all my success has been built, would have been turned to wax. Thank goodness we arrived in time. Indeed, in many ways, the pair of you just saved the world from an unimaginable loss.
Oh, Hurley, you do like to talk nonsense, don't you?
He could know something, it's true, about Lord Van Zeeks and what happened in the past to change him. Now that you're here, let's take our time. How can I be of assistance? For your luck, I'm suddenly quite taken with the idea of conversing. Oh, well, actually, I'm in quite a hurry. And if my eyes don't deceive me, I believe something is afoot within the walls of this very museum. A most fascinating case, if I'm not mistaken. Really? Moreover, I have a strong suspicion that is related to the matter about which you've come to me now. Hold on. But how could it be? We shall speak again presently, my dear fellow. But for now, I must return to my work. What, back to being a temporary waxwork exhibit? Statue Sholmes. Her, Madame Tuspills. What is this place? Madame Tuspers came to London from France 3 years ago, I understand. Since she opened this little waxwork museum last year, it's enjoyed great popularity in London. There are museums like this in Japan too, but these displays are something else. I mean, they aren't made from actual real people, are they? The extreme realism of these waxwork models is a particular secret of the Tuspers family, they say. They earned renown during the French Revolution for waxworks of victims of the guillotine. Ugh, that sounds grim. The gruesome scenes were portrayed with such realism in the expressions of the faces of the condemned.
Apparently, the sculptors would make the models directly from the corpses right there at the site of the executions.
So they literally looked at the dead body and made it there and then.
That really turns my stomach.
That's just one of several legends about the Tuspers family. Whether there ain't truth in it, I couldn't say. But anyway, this museum houses models of famous people from all over the globe. Nevertheless, the most popular area of the museum by quite some margin is this House of Horrors. House of Horrors? Of course, visitor numbers are dwindling now as a result of the Great Exhibition. But people usually flock here to see the exhibits of some of London's most vile criminals here at their gruesome work. Naturally, most of the miscreants portrayed here are sent to the gallows. So they're even stiffer now than the models of them. Have you heard of poor taste? My dear fellow, the public live for poor taste. They yearn to be shocked. So, the hideous exhibits in here are...
There are portrayals of real events that actually took place.
Is it just me? Or did the temperature in here just seem to drop? Anyway, I advise you not to think too deeply about what you see here. Statue! Oh, he's back being a waxwork, is he? What do you mean by a temporary waxwork, Mr. Shums? Exactly what you see. I'm part of the exhibits here. Catching these criminals in the act. Catching them? Every half an hour, I home in on a different killer in one of the displays and adopt a new pose to ensnare them. When members of the public come for a closer look, I offer them my hand to shake. For a shilling, I'll happily allow them to take a photograph with us. Us? Does he mean him and the waxwork murderers in here? But why, Mr. Shums? My dear fellow, I'm poor. For the money. You really bored at me there. Very fitting for the House of Horrors. As it stands, I may struggle to pay this month's rent, and I have the ravenous iris to consider.
Oh, Hurley, I'm so hungry.
If push comes to shove, I shall have to ask you to do your bit, Mr. Naruto. What's he threatening to rope me into now? So, with that in mind, how about a photograph? As a special treat, you may have your pick of the murderers and scoundrels in here. The choice is yours. Maybe some other time. Remember, Mr. Naruto, ignore me at your peril. Statue! Back to being waxwork again. Is it just me, or does his final remark sound a lot like a curse? By the way, I got something to ask you, buddy. Well, what is it you'd like me to ask me, then? Actually, it's about Lord Van Zeeks. Ah, old friend Mr. Reaper. How'd you find him? Well, I trust. And so I filled Mr. Shums in about everything I'd learned. About Lord Van Zeeks, about Professor Harebrained, and about the strange coincidence that they had been at university together. Oh. So I'm wondering what it was that happened to make Lord Van Zeeks such a different person.
I was sure that you know, Hurley.
You said there was something going on here in this exhibit hall before. That something was afoot. And that you believed it was related to what I wanted to ask you about. Mr. Shums? He suddenly clammed up. Well, it seems we've reached the Greetings.
Greetings.
Oh, hello.
Where'd she appear from? And what's she wearing? Does she look any more mysterious?
I hope you are appreciating my museum.
Sorry? Have we... Yep, he's back to being a statue. Mr. Jones, do you know this... Not again!
My apologies. I'm Esmeralda Tuspels. This is my museum of waxwork.
What? You're the Madame Tuspel.
Bien sûr. Though only 26 years young, I might add.
Is that significant somehow?
I'm a madam in name only. It adds a certain je ne sais quoi.
Right.
Firstly, I must apologize for my waxworks. Or rather, one waxwork in particular.
That'll be Mr. Shums then.
I was led to believe he was a great detective, but he seems unable to settle. I'll kill him. Next time you move from your designated exhibit, there will be toil and trouble.
Statue!
She sounds deadly serious.
That's the problem. How am I supposed to ask Mr. Shums about Lord Van Zeeks now?
Let's not forget about what Hurley said before, about something being afoot. Right here in the museum, I mean.
Yeah, I know, but...
I'm so curious, I want to know what's happening here.
Haven't we got enough on our plate already? Hi there. So, the waxworks, tell me more, Bob. Did you make all these waxworks, Madame Tuspel?
I did. I'm the third generation of waxwork artisans, you know? Gosh. It was my grandmother who began the tradition in my family. Her fortunes were she echoed, living through the turbulent times of the French Revolution as she did. Though that is, when she acquired the savoir-faire that leads to the astonishing lifelikeness. All these waxworks really do look as if they're alive. In fact, they look more alive than Hurley. What you see exhibited here represents the most atrocious of London's criminal past. All the waxworks here were created in the presence of the real people on which they were modeled. And now is immediately following their execution. That is the secret to the extraordinary lifelikeness.
That sounds terrifying.
All walks of life have similar challenges, I'm sure. To carry out one's trade per excellence, one must go to extraordinary lengths. And my exhibits are a reflection of society. I create only that which the public wishes to see.
Why couldn't the public have wished for something less horrifying?
Do not fear.
Sorry?
This room is only one in the museum with such a macabre theme. I do hope you'll explore. There are models of famous singers, actors, politicians, something for every taste, I hope.
It was Iris who dragged me straight into here, come to think of it.
Sorry, perhaps I should have eased you into things.
So what about Mr. Shums? What's the situation with that?
My temporary waxwork model. He approached me some days ago, you see, with a business proposal.
Oh, what's our proposal? My dear madam, what these sparse exhibits need is the addition of a world-famous great detective.
Oh, what's that effect? Naturally, I'm well aware that Mr. Sholmes is widely known in London as a talented detective.
It's great detective, actually. He's very specific about it.
Yes, the creme de la creme. So I was keen to come to some arrangement with him, of course. But sadly, we were unable to agree terms.
Let me guess. Someone wanted to charge an exorbitant price for his services? For a mere £500, I will dive into your cauldron of wax this very moment.
Or words to that effect.
Mr. Shums might have overdone it slightly with the sales pitch.
Regrettably, the museum has a shortage of funds at the moment, due to unforeseen circumstances.
So we came to the current arrangement instead.
Surely he doesn't really need to do what he's doing, though, does he?
I would think not, but he was very insistent.
I have a 50 shilling problem that must be resolved by the morning.
Or words to that effect. It's the pawnbroker, that's what it is. He must have something to redeem.
Is the consulting detective work not going so well? Something's afoot in here. I wonder, can I ask you something?
Bien sûr.
I'm just curious, is anything going on in the museum at the moment? Some kind of incident, perhaps? You got quiet.
Whoever suggested such a thing to you?
Oh, well, it was your temporary waxwork over there who mentioned it to me a little. Where'd he go? Oh, he's disappeared. A wax model is a work of art, not some tawdry object for trade. I'm over here now.
There you are! Leaving the exhibit again when you should be working. Do you wish to be melted down?
Statue! My dear Madam Tusper, save your reprimands. There are more pressing concerns. The wax can wait. It's our ideas about your current problem that we must throw into the melting pot instead. Personally, I would advise you not to involve the police.
Why ever not?
She's turned as white as sheep. Because, you have at your disposal a great detective, whose services you may employ for a mere 50 shillings. Though please be aware that I insist on payment in advance.
Very well. Let us see if the great detective is able to live up to his name, shall we?
Before I engage in my analytical processes, I must ask you to clarify something. What, pray, is behind the curtain?
That is Tuswell's special exhibit. There's an extra charge to see it.
Ah, the special exhibit in the House of Horrors. It must depict the special killer then, I presume. Would you be so kind as to draw back the curtain, I wonder?
Absolutely no. There's nothing amiss behind there.
Nothing amiss, madam? What about the arm protruding ominously from under the curtain? I strongly encourage you to allow me to see what lies beyond, before this situation worsens.
Yes, very well. I will draw back the curtains, but only as a sequel. Or something, I don't know. Probably butchered that.
And behind it is... Number 139! I must confess, I peeked behind the curtain earlier. The Tuswell special exhibit is a very bleak graveyard scene indeed. And yet, somewhat surprisingly, the waxwork killer one would expect is nowhere to be seen. What does strike one, however? Oh no, it's you! It's a portly gentleman lying peacefully on his back on the floor. This is the first juror ever from the third case in the first game. He was the foreman. Mr. Foreman. Well, then perhaps, Mr. Sholmes, that man on the floor is the ruthless killer himself. I'm afraid not, my dear fellow. He's a perfectly ordinary London gentleman. Not even a waxwork, in fact. What? As skillfully made as the waxworks are, they are always distinguishable from real humans. So, allow me to present my two conclusions. The first is that the sizable business transaction has been taking place in this special exhibit.
Why? Why would you say that?
And the second is that the aforementioned transaction is linked to a serious crime.
She looks as pale as candle wax. I don't understand.
So, Madam Tuspers, as you've agreed to my fee, You shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. The Great Deduction. The game is afoot. Let's do it. First up, the waxworks fade. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. My estimation, some 200 pounds. That is all my own money. So what does this large sum of money reveal? Oh? Ah, not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, it would seem, Madam Tusbles. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by that public notice. Waxwork for sale? Your business has hit hard times, it would seem. In short, you sold the infamous killer, the centerpiece of your special exhibit, for the sum of 200 pounds.
Lord!
Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the 200 pounds. It would appear that you twisted this gentleman around with your little finger most effectively. What are you suggesting? He rashly agreed to purchase the waxwork for a sum of 200 pounds. Only when he came to hand the money over did it occur to him in what an extortionate amount he was paying. But the money was no longer in his hands. And the result? The scene we see before us. He collapsed in shock. Yes, the killer in the special exhibit fetched a killer price. We can only pray that the gentleman's dreams are not plagued with regret. So the waxwork fee is sold for cash, alright. Alright, Mr. Shums, then tell me. What is the waxworks location? The question then that arises then is what has become to the waxwork that's changed hands? Let's consider the problem for a moment. You cannot possibly... What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe the neckerchief. Such is worn by the policeman as a secret sign to fellow members of the force that a crime is being perpetrated. Yes, this young man is an undercover policeman currently investigating this museum. I know him well, in fact. It's Sergeant John Clay. What are you talking about? The man's quite a celebrity. He received triple accolades at last year's policing awards. But... Next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him with a particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching closely and he hasn't moved a muscle. Almost, in fact. As if he were waxwork. But you... Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madam. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe. The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious price tag. Threepence? A tragically low price, you might say. Though perhaps the going rate for aging waxworks riddled with cracks. And yet you sold it to the portly gentleman for an exorbitant 200 pounds. The sort of plucky behaviour that should attract the attention of Scotland Yard. Isn't that so, madam? I do not... Yes, the waxwork you sold has already been seized by the police. It remains in their custody as we speak. The old man must be reunited with his grave in the special exhibit, and not a moment too soon. It's been discovered already. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. Yep. Murder! I see I've stunned you all into silence.
You have, Hurley. You have. And you've obviously upset this young lady in the process. Her caution looks awfully hot.
If I could just bring up one point, Mr. Shums. Ah, then toys not heard of 1 point. I'm all ears, my dear fellow. According to your deduction, then, the special exhibit featured this old policeman. So, that would mean he's the particularly ruthless murderer, wouldn't it? The killer policeman, Ultimo... Sorry? It was a mysterious series of murders that rattled the capital only last year. The police rushed to the scene every time, only to find the culprit had disappeared into the ether.
And it turned out the culprit was the policeman himself, a senior officer by the name of Ottermole.
So you mean that's who the sinister-looking old man there is supposed to be? Indeed. It's a particularly grim face, is it not? Unforgettable, in fact. Yes, I remember that odious countenance only too well. But is £200 a lot of money for a wax model? It would be enough to afford one of the latest steam carriages, if that puts things in perspective. So, it's quite a lot then.
Is there anything else you would wish to add? Before I melt you down?
That bubbling wax is looking more and more ominous.
The smell of all that molten wax is starting to worry me.
Miss Shums did more or less just accuse her to her face, so... I think I might have to call on your assistance here, Iris. If that's alright. To make some minor corrections to the great detective's great deductions.
Of course it's alright. We'll soon set things straight.
Well, let's get started then, shall we? Before Madame Tuspel vents her anger. Just what I was waiting to hear, my dear fellow. So, Madame Tuspels, in accordance with our agreement, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective's antemporary exhibit. What? Part 2. My turn. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Shums. So now we gotta fix up what the waxworks fate is. To begin with, I must become a statue. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in the museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your handbag. In my estimation, some £200. That is all my own money. So what does this large sum of money reveal? Ah, not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, if it would seem, Madame Tuspel. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the two... She definitely looked in this direction, it's true.
But I'm not sure she's selling it for waxworks, even for £200.
Oh?
She must pour her heart and soul into making them, don't you think? Over and above the wax. If it were me, I wouldn't sell them for anything.
For that much money, I would. But it sounds like that makes me a bad person. Well, anyway. I wonder if the £200 could have some other significance.
Let's follow that furtive glance again, see if there's something else that could explain it.
Oh. What's this?
What's that note doing pinned on the wall there?
Oh yeah, let's see. Dear Madame Tuspels, we've taken the prisoner from the room. The price for his safe return is £200. Have the money ready by noon on 23rd of October.
What?
This is just like the sort of thing that's left behind when someone is kidnapped.
Yes, it's a ransom note.
Exactly. Alright. I think we got our answer. Ransom note. Time to shine. The significance of the £200 is revealed by that ransom note. Quite so, and we must congratulate these criminals on their inventiveness of abducting a waxwork. £200 is no small ransom fee, yet you clearly intend to pay it.
The model in question has special importance, so I put together all the money I have.
In summary, then, the £200 you have in your handbag is ransom money. Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Man. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? would appear that a man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. She's gotta be hiding something behind her back. Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. But that the man such a shocking blow was a cause, the 200-pound... So if the waxwork was kidnapped, where does that leave us in terms of who this man is?
We could just ask him when he comes around.
I think the point of this exercise is to understand the beauty of the deduction process, Iris.
Yes, you're right. Riley's trying so hard, we mustn't let him down.
Well, there's little Dahlia suffered a shock, that much seems clear. But in that case, what's Madame Tussible's trying to hide? Let's have a closer look around. She's hiding something behind her back. What the heck? I don't think this is her hand.
This is just Madame Tussible's right hand, isn't it?
Yeah, it must be. I can clearly see her left hand after all.
Oh, but wait a minute. This is a left hand as well. Look.
Don't say such creepy things, Iris, please.
And it seems very stiff, too. In fact, it's really hard.
You mean it's made of wax? So you bonked him over the head.
Take that!
What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the waxwork hand. Indeed, with a solid waxwork limb, one could deliver a very substantial blow.
How could you...
The hand protruding from the bottom of your cape. It ought to be a right hand, but closer inspection reveals that, in fact, it's a left hand. And somewhat masculine as well. In other words, it does not belong to you, madam. It is the hand of a waxwork model.
Ah!
Aha!
Some of the visitors to my museum can be troublesome. They meddle with the exhibits and cause damage.
So you mean that arm?
Yes, this gentleman saw fit to try and remove it as a souvenir.
No small keepsake. Like taking a whole branch of a cherry tree when you go to view the blossoms.
I am afraid I had to teach the man a lesson.
Ay, ay, ay. You confronted the man and tried to take the arm back. And the result? The scene we see before us. He was knocked unconscious. A point we may need to revisit later, but for the time being, we have a conclusion. Yes, the killer in the special exhibit has been kidnapped. Kidnapped killer. Oh, I was hoping to say kidnapped killer. Let's work on this then. The question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let's consider the problem for a moment.
You cannot possibly...
What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who's this fellow? To find out the answer, you need only observe his neckerchief. According to Mr. Sholmes, the yellow neckerchief is a sign to other policemen that some crime is underway.
A way of communicating with his colleague without revealing his identity, yes. The secret is closely guarded by Scotland Yard.
That Mr. Sholmes didn't hesitate to give away.
Well, uncovering secrets is any true detective's nature, of course.
Right. Anyway, judging from Madame Tussible's reaction to Mr. Sholmes' deduction, I think perhaps we might not have identified the man quite correctly. Aha! What the? The man has a stub sticking out where his shoulder should... his arm should be.
Well, that settles it, then.
Right. This isn't a real person at all.
His entire arm's been ripped off from the shoulder down.
His arm's been... Of course, that ties him with what we just found out.
Take that!
Shoulder stub. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his shoulder stub. No such boneless human walks this earth. Of that I can assure you. In other words, the man standing here, the young Sergeant John Clay, is in fact defying all odds a waxwork model. I seem to remember it was you who concluded that he was a real person in the first place, Mr. Sholmes.
He has become quite a celebrity in London, being the winner of no less than 3 policing awards last year. I simply had to make a model of the man.
Naturally. What other explanation could there be? And it was this detective's arm that was pulled off by the man on the floor in the special exhibit, wasn't it? Next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him with a particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching closely and he hasn't moved a muscle. Almost, in fact, as if he were waxwork.
But you...
Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madam. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe. The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious price. A killer policeman called Otter Mole, was it? Was he well known?
It was all over the papers last year, but I can't say I know what he looks like. It's very low price, though. Threepence isn't much money.
Only enough for a few measly hours of gas in Mr. Garadev's delightful lodgings, in fact. So this is a special killer taken from the special exhibit. Is it? Waxwork that somebody stole from the museum and tried to ransom for 200 pounds? Is this crusty old killer policeman Ottermole? Really?
Perhaps we should have a good look around again, if another idea crops up.
Oh, hi there. Look at this. The old man's tapping his foot like crazy.
He seems to be fast asleep, though.
He's not tapping his foot consciously, then. Seeming...
Must be a twitch.
Never mind that. The point is, the waxworks don't tap their feet.
Or a twitch.
And look at his arm, too. We've seen a scarf like that somewhere else around here, haven't we? Oh! What was it? Royally beat! And, yeah. Anyways. Twitch. The telltale signs that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious twitch. Even the most realistic waxworks do not exhibit a twitch. In other words, this splendid old man is in fact a genuine member of Scotland Yard. Slight shift in your choice of adjectives, then. And there you have it, well, Madam Tuspalus.
Well, what? It was me who contacted the police and demanded that someone come in the first place.
He is clearly fatigued. He's sound asleep. But then, what's this tag about showing a price of 3 pence? No doubt the price tag of the muffler, for which the old Bobby purchased recently at a local market. I presume you've observed the scarf tied around his arm. Does that not strike you, Mr. Narhodo? Yes, the secret sign used by detectives show that some criminal activity is currently underway.
Of course, because, as you know, there's been just such criminal activity happening here. As you deduced from the very beginning, Detective.
So, it would seem that we finally arrived at the truth. The waxwork of the especially ruthless killer from the special exhibit has been kidnapped. And Scotland Yard are already investigating. But the model's whereabouts remain a mystery. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. Alright, so it's still a mystery where this thing is. Well, it gives me an idea of how the teleportation now could have worked. Sort of. Could the model have been used?
All sorts of people visit my museum here. Men and women, young and old. Sometimes they drop in just for a short time on their way back from the pub. I welcome all. But if anyone tries to damage my exhibits, I do not take it lightly. Anyway. Your great deduction was even more enchanting than I had been led to believe.
It was a pleasure, my dear madam. I'm gratified that you enjoyed the spectacle. And as for your rough customer, I've no doubt he'll regain consciousness shortly and return home. What concerns me more is the waxwork from the special display, if it was indeed genuinely abducted.
Yes, tragically, it was.
Then I would ask you to recount to us the events surrounding the stolen waxwork. In as much detail as possible, if you please.
Very well. But after I have told you what I know, I must insist that you return to your work.
The talents of a great detective should be put to better use, I feel, but as you wish. Alright. Tell us more about the stolen waxwork, please.
It was some days ago now, when I came in here one morning. I immediately noticed that the waxwork was missing from the special exhibit here. It is your most prominent display, so that's why the curtains were closed. And I found the ransom note in its place.
The culprit must have broken in during the night and taken it then.
So this waxwork was that was stolen. It was a model of some horrible criminal, I suppose. Of a particularly horrible criminal, in fact. The killer who left a more profound scar on society than any other, I would say. The Professor.
Not a name I've heard of. Hey, wait a minute. Wasn't Professor the code that, Wasn't Professor the code that, was in the whole, final case of the first game? It was like, It was like the... What was it? The... What'd they call it? It was some... like the special phrase to redeem an item. So, Mr. Nahodo, it seems the circle is complete. Sorry?
The Professor case happened around the time I was born, didn't it?
Indeed it did, Iris. 10 years ago, a series of murders that rocked the capital. 10 years ago? Yes, at exactly the time that Baron von Zietz graduated from university, in fact. Oh. Surely he's not saying... So, whoever the professor is killed... killed someone probably close to Zeke's.
So the big event that changed Mr. Reaper's life.
As you've surmised, is the Professor case. Who's the Professor, then?
It was a series of gruesome murders that had all of London gripped in terror a decade ago. After 5 victims were killed, the man was arrested and put to death.
And now he's immortalized here in wax for all Londoners to admire and enjoy. Though, of course, he happens to be absent at present, on account of the abduction. But I don't understand. How is this all related to Lord Van Zeeks? You must first understand, my dear fellow, why it is that the Professor earned such infamy. It was due to the victims he chose, some of Whitehall's finest.
What do you mean, Hurley?
Those murdered by the Professor were some of the highest members of the British aristocracies, members of the nobility, even royalty. It sent shockwaves to the country's administration. Members of the... Wait, of course! What Professor Harebrained said! Lord Van Zeeks is a family of noble blood!
Oh gosh.
It was the first victim that led to the Professor's arrest. The last of the killer's prey was a young noble by the name of... Clint Van Zeeks. No, I don't believe it. Van Zeeks. Father, brother. I'm sure you can piece together the rest for yourself. In the wake of his older brother's murder, the young Barrack pursued a career as a prosecutor, and eventually became the Reaper we know today. I had no idea Lord Van Zeeks had such a tragic past. Well, I'm afraid that's all I can say on the matter. For the time being, at least. After all, I have work to do. Sad you. As a waxwork exhibit.
I'm afraid I shall have to excuse myself as well.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Well, none of the predicted scenarios I've been analyzing involved you coming to visit me here. Oh.
It's been too long, it really has. I'm delighted to see you, Beric.
It's been 10 years, and here we are, meeting in a prison of all places.
I can't forgive myself what happened to Mr. Asmund. I just can't. I still can't believe it could happen.
Tomorrow, the court will decide.
Yes. I have a young Eastern man acting for my defense. He seems reliable enough, though. It was an accident. A terrible accident. He assures me he can prove it.
I must warn you.
Oh, I know. I've heard already. You're going to be prosecuting, aren't you?
Yes.
Since I returned to England, I've heard lots of stories. Bert, are you really...
What?
Never mind. I know that you have my best interests at heart.
My friend is on trial. I wouldn't entrust it to anybody else.
Of course, I fully understand. Thank you, Beric.
Until tomorrow, then. I'll see you in court.
Aw. He does care. He cares. He actually has friends. I don't know where I was going with that, but oh well. Where is this save again? Yeah, that's a good save spot, I'd say. Enough. Ish. Alright. Time to start trial. I can't believe it's been 6 months since I was last allowed to work in court. And now, here I am, back at the Old Bailey.
Ah, Mr. Naruto.
Good morning, Professor Hairbrain.
I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. The atmospheric pressure in here is off the charts. I've never felt anything like it before. It's crushing me.
And I feel it every time I'm here. That gravity.
Well, this is Britain's highest court. But are you telling me it's fitted with some kind of device that can actually control air pressure?
I think it's probably all in the mind.
Ah, yes. Well, you won't let me down, will you, Mr. Naruto? I'm counting on you in today's trial to save my life. To save the secret of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine from being made public.
Yes, I understand. I know what I have to do. I have to establish the explosion 2 days ago was nothing more than an unfortunate accident.
Well, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, really. Justice will prevail.
Oh, it was probably Shums. My commiserations, Mr. Naruto. You appear to have been lumbered with the most tiresome case here. Yep, I knew it. Mr. Shums, I didn't expect to see you here. For once, you're actually early. Nice.
That was very mean, Bruno. Leaving me alone at home with Hurley. It took me at least an hour to wake him. Is it... Are you... Sherlock Holmes!
Indeed, sir. I am he. Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, I'd heard all about your exploits, even whilst living in Germany. Ah, yes, Rand's magazine is on sale in Germany, too. This month's installment was sublime. Your deduction of In the Adventure of the Silver Blaze was wonderful.
Ah, yes, a memorable case indeed. It concerned a snake, I seem to recall.
No, that was the Speckled Band. Why does everything go back to snakes with you?
Well, thank you for coming. I do appreciate your support. I'm sorry to disappoint you, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid I can't stay. Oh. I have urgent business at Madame Tuspel's. You mean your waxwork job? No, the waxwork abduction, of course. Madame has engaged my services. Ah, so you're trying to get the bottom of that ransom note, are you? The week's wages depend on it, as does the safe return of the waxwork, naturally. As such, I intend to give it my undivided attention. Oh, well, never mind then. I understand. Of course, with my skills of observation and reasoning, resolving the matter will be as easy as proverbial pie. I shall return forthwith. But for until I solve the case, I shall have no money to afford a pie of any description.
Oh, you must be absolutely give it your full attention, Hurley.
Quite, Iris, quite. But life is riddled with irony, you know. Whenever I give something my full attention, I have a quite insatiable desire for pie. Whenever the universe is intractable mysteries, you might say.
Oh, yes, quite, definitely, absolutely. I totally understand.
Is someone a little starstruck? I wish you the very best of luck, Professor Hairbrain.
Oh, why, thank you.
Before I depart, Mr. Naruhodo, a word in your ear, if you please. What's this about? As you have remarkably little grounding in science, I feel I ought to inform you. As compelling as the super high voltage instantaneous kinesis hypothesis may be, a practical implementation such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition is quite impossible. But the professor said the demonstration was a success. Yes, it would appear that he fervently believes it was.
I've read Professor Bunnybrain's paper about it too, Bruno, and I have to say, I'm quite sure it can't be done. It could barely be done theoretically, let alone practically.
So he's completely barking up the wrong tree. But how can an experiment that had no possibility of succeeding in fact succeeded? That's contradictory. And it's that contradiction that will be at the heart of the trial, I have no doubt. What's that supposed to mean? Now, I must hurry along. I wish you the best of luck, my dear fellow.
See you later, Hurley.
Oh, you're not going with them? Well, actually, that makes sense. Actually, no, it doesn't. I don't know what makes sense anymore.
Well, looks like you're on your own today, Bruno. But chin up, you can do it.
Oh, what about you, Iris?
No, I'm afraid I can't help. I have something I need to do.
I see.
It's going to be a big surprise for you when you find out what it is.
That sounds ominous. Because of the defense and the defendant, court is about to begin session. Make your way to the courtroom at once. We're on our way. An experiment that the laws of science say they can't possibly succeed. And a scientist who's convinced that it did. That's the riddle you have to unlock here, Ryunosuke. That's the key to this case. New jurors! In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are sitting today for the public trial of Professor Albert Hairbrain. I now call upon the counsel for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. I'm 6 months out of practice, and what's more... visible. I'm without Susato-san today. Is it just my imagination, or does the air in here feel even more oppressive than usual? So, I must say I recollect the victim of this trial all too well, Mr. Odie Asman. Mr. Asman was well known as a financier, though that was merely a front for his diverse criminal activities. Sorry. It was only a month ago that the man appeared in court prosecuted by you, Lord Van Zeeks. But the jury unanimously found him not guilty. Because every member of the jury had been bribed, by the sound of it. These powerful London criminals are prepared to go to extreme lengths to keep their freedom.
But 2 days ago, on 21st October, Mr. Asmund met his end. The work of the Reaper, was it? If that is how your lordship would describe divine retribution. But the fact remains that Mr. Asmund's death was a direct result of the actions of the accused, Professor Harebrain. Very well then. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people. Are the 6 of you ready to fulfill your societal duty? I'm most grateful to have been selected to carry out this important civic duty, my lord.
To have a man's fate in the palm of one's hand. Oh gosh, oh golly. It sends shivers down my spine. Science experiments, magic, conjuring tricks, courtroom trials. All nothing more than performances.
Any spurious skull that defiles the reputation of science deserves a hang.
We have to listen to what's said on both sides as a fan, so I'm the shallow one. That's yeah, isn't it?
You like corn? No. How much corn you got under there? Okay, let's move for that. You're the guy who's, hello?
But I just about hey, wasn't like this at all.
That's the police killer otter mole look-alike again. And he's as exhausted as ever, it seems.
Well, so I'm sure you're all aware. The incident we are here to judge today tragically took place at the Great Exhibition, shortly after its opening. Though the death total could have been far worse, with the exception of the victim, no one was killed. Nevertheless, the dream of this science being exhibited rapidly turned into a nightmare for the spectators. A tragic turn of events, and as such, the eyes of all London, no, the whole world will be on this trial. It is our duty to reach a swift and just conclusion, I feel. So, your opening statement, please, Lord Van Zieks. At the heart of the incident is a technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world. One science's latest developments, I take it. The government is keen to capitalize on the Great Exhibition to improve Britain's technological advantage. The technology being demonstrated by the accused was described as super high voltage instantaneous kinesis. Good lord!
It's designed to disassemble human subjects using extremely high voltage electricity, and beam them instantly to another location where they are subsequently reassembled.
Is such a thing even within the realms of possibility? I don't believe it. That's for sure.
Disassembling people with electricity. My goodness, how shocking.
The idea is absurd. My hypothesis would never stand up to scrutiny. Sir, I believe you are a fellow of the Royal Society, are you not? An expert in your field. I am, and my word on the matter can be considered vital. Instantaneous kinesis is poppycock.
So, this expert and Mr. Shums are in agreement. It's impossible.
What is the prosecution's view on the matter? The prosecution would assert that the accused's instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a success.
Really? What?
What rot? My head! Order, order! The professor's hypothesis is currently under investigation by the British government. If it is deemed to have merit, a substantial research grant would be made available. The accused made use of the invention built on his new hypothesis to take Mr. Asmund's life, in order to be sole benefactor of the grant.
But...
This disastrous demonstration was no accident. It was carefully designed from the outset to end the life of the victim.
You're taking a difficult route for this, aren't you, Van Zieks?
Thank you, Lord Van Zieks. The prosecution's stance is clear. But You will now bring forth witnesses to substantiate your claims. Gladly, my lord. I don't need this stupid cape. Bailiff, show the first witnesses to the stand.
I just want to eat.
Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court.
Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. I was on duty at the demonstration on the day in question and in charge of the following investigation. Albert Herrick, a scientist.
You were born in England, but have been carrying out research in Germany in recent years, correct?
Yes, that's right. After graduating from university here in Britain, I went to work in Germany and made an amazing discovery, which is what brought me back. I had to demonstrate my incredible hypothesis at the Great Exhibition.
What you demonstrated was incredible, alright? An incredible explosion.
But the science was a success. The instantaneous kinesis worked. Everyone saw it. They must have done. Yes, there was a terrible accident, but the demonstration of my hypothesis was a success. Well, not much is undeniable, as shown in this photograph taken by the forensic investigation team.
It was taken inside the Crystal Tower, I take it. The centerpiece of the exhibition, no less.
What? What's the cause of death? I just thought about that. Did he just... It looks to me like he was stabbed. What's this? Ah. And then the glass, yeah. It does look like this is taking place, It does look like the body is on, like, the scaffolding or whatever. I'm not sure. All I know is it looks like he was stabbed. How... What's the autopsy report say? Yeah, that's right, my lord. Seems the victim ran straight into it.
I see. Very well. Submit the photograph as evidence.
Photograph represents the victim taken after he had ostensibly been beamed to the Crystal Tower. It shows an apparent stab wound to the chest. Yeah, exactly. Are we just gonna ignore this? As the girl said, the victim of the incident was Miss Odie Asman. There have been a number of allegations made against the man, but holding him aside for the time being. He was the man who financed the research for the experiment and the demonstration itself.
I see. So to summarize the situation, the defendant is accused of taking the life of the man who funded his work. Would that be correct?
Exactly. But couldn't it be that the explosion caused by some malfunction in the apparatus used for the demonstration? That's right! That must be it! My splendid machine! My poor splendid machine! You saw it yesterday, didn't you? We can't even examine the records thanks to the special dispensation for the Scientific Equipment Act. What? The wreckage! The wreckage!
But that being the case, how can the facts be established? How can it possibly be determined whether this was an accident or a deliberate and malicious act? Extremely simply, my lord. I beg your pardon. Isn't that right, witness?
Sorry, me!
No, your neighbor.
Yes, sir. It was a murder. Plain and simple. Anyone could state with complete certainty. What? How can he possibly think that?
Thank you, Inspector. I think we had better proceed to formal testimony. You will explain to the court on what grounds you claim the experiment to have been a front for murder.
Alrighty. A front for murder. Sorry, I was gonna check something real quick. The wolves that went crashing through the Crystal Tower had a broken neck. I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projection, that's all. That was my mistake. What the postmortem reports revealed another injury, a fatal wound.
There was a lesion in his chest where he'd clearly been stabbed by something sharp and right in the heart. So the victim was killed before he went anywhere, and this fella's the only one who could have done it.
Wouldn't he have been seen by literally everyone then?
Extraordinary business. In addition to suffering a broken neck, the victim was stabbed in the heart.
Information I'd really like to have heard from someone other than the judge.
The coroner says death would have been all but instant from a wound like that.
You could say, in fact, the victim was killed twice by the accused.
No, no, no! That couldn't be further from the truth.
I've here the experiment, the plan document that was submitted to the security. The victim stood himself inside something called the bird cage, ready to be beamed instantly. To the second level of the crystal tower about 25 yards away.
The experiment did not go according to plan, however. As the machine was put into operation, there was a large explosion. The blast caused the beam transmitter to point higher than intended. Accordingly, the kinesis resulted in the birdcage materializing in midair, from where it subsequently fell, crashing through the glass of the crystal tower's large round window. Someone's honking outside the courtroom. Please shut them up.
My word. One assumes the victim's neck was broken upon impact with the tower, correct?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. The machine was just too powerful. But honestly, really, I swear it was just an accident. A terrible accident.
Unfortunately, that excuse can't save you.
No, not considering the sharp murder weapon that pierced the victim's heart.
Murder weapon? What are you saying?
This is the autopsy report submitted by the coroner. The prosecution would like to enter it entered into the court record. Your request is granted, counsel.
His neck was broken from the impact of a violent fall, and he was stabbed in the chest with a sharp object.
I was down person, you know. I saw the whole ludicrous performance. The only other person on stage with Mr. Asman was that disgraceful excuse for a scientist.
Then really, by all accounts, it must have been him.
I'll take out a word. Ready. Very well. Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination, please.
Oh, yes, my lord. I need to focus here.
It's been a while.
Not what I meant to do, but sure, we'll do it. We'll do it. But that's not what I meant to do. I meant to check court record. I want to look at this further. Autopsy report, coroner, Courtney Scythe. Details of victim: name, Odie Asman, male, age 47, nationality British, time of death, 21st of October, around 2:20 p.m. Cause of death: hemorrhage of a wound to the chest that pierced the heart, inflicted by sharp and broken vertebrae, most likely result. Wait. Sorry, I was just thinking about something.
Hold it!
Look at this! Are you suggesting that it's because he fell from a considerable height?
Likely, which highlights something else about this whole rum business.
What's that?
The fact that the instantaneous kinesis itself was a success.
After the explosion, the cage with the fella inside suddenly appeared out of nowhere in midair.
So although the experiment ended in disaster, the so-called instantaneous kinesis did actually occur. Remind us, Professor, what was the cause of the fatal disaster?
So the angle of the projection is critical, is it? And you calculated it yourself, personally?
Absolutely. The calculation is far too complicated for anyone but me to carry out.
Only you got it wrong, didn't you?
Yes, that's right. That's the point. The calculation is so complicated, even I can make a mistake.
Do people fall for that brazen confidence? I should try it.
I took into account the subject's height and weight, the wind direction, the ambient temperature. I considered every possible variable. I just don't understand how this could have happened.
Obviously then, you had to include the way of the clothes Mr. Asman was wearing at the time, I suppose.
Crackling comets! The answer should have been 3!
So much for safety verse. The 3 must be for safety third.
Hold it!
But this wound seems confusing to me. Why is there a stab wound? Another fatal injury, you say? That doesn't make any sense. I didn't think I'd spell it out to you, but here we go.
Just because there were 2 fatal wounds doesn't mean I'm saying the victim had 2 lives to lose, does it?
Too right.
Obviously, at first, we thought the bloke had died due to his spine snapping in half as well.
You're saying that's not the case.
You'll get your answer once I finish me fish and chips.
And you don't keep butting in every few seconds.
But we all know that's a bottomless bag.
The victim plummeted 30 feet into a glass tower. It would be unreasonable to assume that as the cause of death.
Right. That's what we all thought. But it was a red herring, was it?
The stab just makes no sense to me. Maybe it was a piece of glass? That's what I'm gonna say. It had to have been like a piece of glass. That's what I want to ask them, like, where is this clear murder weapon? The defense knew nothing of this crucial information.
The prosecution received this report from the forensics investigation team only this morning. That was the first we knew of it as well. I can only apologize for the impossibility of informing the defense.
Sarcastic and insincere. Thanks. So, what was the nature of the sharp object?
Among the accused tools that were in use for the demonstration, one is of particular interest.
Oh. Did that have blood on it before? I swear it didn't.
This. Ah, yes. That would appear to be some kind of screwdriver.
Ah, there he is! My trusty little companion, Andrew!
Andrew? Of course.
You know each other already. He's one of my dear friends, like all my tools. I've named them all, you know. We're one big happy family. Andrew's my flathead screwdriver, of course. His brother Michael's the crosshead.
Well, it would appear that your beloved Andrew has a red stain on his shank.
That isn't...
It's blood. Beyond all reasonable doubts.
No!
That's not all. The long, sharp shape of this Andrew fellow is completely consistent with the victim's wound.
What?
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 Order! Order! The court will enter this friend of the defendant's evidence.
He's named Andrew. There are traces of blood at the tip and it matches the shape of the victim. This doesn't make sense. What? I swear I don't remember that blood being there before. What? This is blood. Mr. Asman's, no doubt. This is the problem with looking at murder weapons. Can I unscrew this or something? I've seen the unusually shaped handle before. It's the same screwdriver that was lodged in the grill of the floor, on the floor of the kinesis machine. Which could be important information, so I should definitely make a note of it. A very distinctive handle. I swear I don't remember there being blood. I feel like I remember if there was blood on it. Great.
Hold it.
What grounds do you have for saying that?
Huh. Do you really need to ask? There were only 2 people on that public experimentation stage in front of the whole crowd. The victim, Miss Odie Asman, and the accused, Professor Hairbrain. And we know for certain that before the experiment, the victim was alive. That's right. I saw him with my own eyes. Furthermore, following the explosion in Kinesis, nobody went anywhere near the body.
In other words, only someone else on stage with the victim could have possibly done it. Excuse me. Professor Hairbrain, do you have some information that may be relevant here? Professor!
Sorry. I was just calculating the optimum coefficient of electrolysis to separate molecules in the human body.
And the witness stand is the best place for that. It seemed as though you might have something to say about Inspector Gregson's last remark.
Yes, that's right. Of course. He just said that nobody else could have done it, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Who else could have stabbed the victim, eh?
I don't know, but
There's no way that I could possibly have stabbed Miss Asman, as you say.
Huh? Explain, please, Professor.
Of course, this cold-hearted policeman may not be aware, I suppose. But humans are warm-blooded mammals with blood running continuously through their veins.
I had heard.
Then surely you see, if I plunged something the size of Andrew into the man's chest, the whole stage would have been a bloodbath. No, a blood swimming pool. But thousands of Londoners were watching me at that time. And yet not one of them claims to have seen a swimming pool of blood.
Well, no, I suppose not.
you see, not one.
True. I didn't see anything like that. Well done, Professor. That was a great counter-argument. Maybe he can defend himself. Order! Order!
Pray forgive the discourtesy if I savor a drop from my hollowed chalice to accompany my old friend's adducing.
What?
Here's to you, Albert.
Oh, you're too kind, Beric. But I'm really not a patch on you.
What?
No, you're not.
No?
You've neglected to mention one crucial possibility.
I have?
About a particular situation in which very little bleeding would have resulted from a stab wound.
Of course.
Inspector, enlighten the court, please.
Yes, sir.
Where are they going with this?
Very well then. You will amend your formal testimony now, Inspector Gregson.
The weapon the victim was stabbed with must have been left in his body when he... What? If that's the case, then what... You said must have. Something feels wrong here. I swear, I don't remember this thing having blood on it. So why does it suddenly have blood on it? Something just feels very wrong here. Was there blood on it? I don't remember, but I swear there wasn't. I feel like I'd remember.
Hold it!
Why would you think that, Inspector?
With any wound, it's only when you pull out the weapon that profuse bleeding occurs. Whilst it's lodged in the body, it acts as a stopper sorts, for want of a better word.
I see.
You don't need a medical degree to be aware of this fact. It's common knowledge for any investigator.
Where's Susawa-san when you need her? Don't actually ask Susawa-san on this topic.
If you ask me, this bloke masked what he was doing from a view with his body before stabbing Asman in the chest. Then he beamed the victim off the stage with his fancy device. The screwdriver still where he planted it.
I would never do such a thing. Not my best tools. I would never use them for such dirty work. You only use tools for their intended purpose. That's common knowledge for any scientist.
The fact remains, the lack of blood at the scene can easily be explained, as the prosecution has demonstrated. So that's all the testimony I have to work with. I had no idea the victim had stabbed. That changes everything. Did Van Zieks keep that to himself until now on purpose? To gain advantage? Well, as well as all I can do is press these witnesses with as much new information as possible. I don't know. I just feel conflicted about this. Something just feels wrong. Why is there blood on the weapon when I don't remember it? Oh, by the way, where did we find this? I just remembered that. You say that while the weapon remains in the body, there's very little bleeding. Is that unequivocal? Look, there was no blood. There's no blood on the experimentation stage. Even though that's why the fellow was stopped. The only explanation for that is if the screwdriver was still in his body, stopping any heavy bleeding. It's common medical knowledge, my little friend. Even on your side of the world. Yeah, but about the screwdriver, the thing is, we actually saw it at the scene ourselves, on the experimentation stage. What? It was on the floor by the wreckage of the machine, poking through a metal grill. I went to pick it up, but the detective here stopped me. Isn't that right, Inspector Rickson?
Well, now that you come to mention it, yes.
Inspector, are we to understand that you permit the defense counsel to investigate? That you contravened in the Special Dispensation for the Scientific Equipment Act?
No, not at all. I want to do that. I just let him look, nothing more. It was very clear he wasn't touching a thing.
Yes, that's true. The screwdriver was in plain sight on the stage. But it shouldn't have been. Should it?
What are you getting at?
If this tool had been in the victim's body when the victim was beamed away by the machine, then it shouldn't have still been on the stage. That's right. It should have been beamed across to the Crystal Tower along with Mr. Asman. And been found still lodged in the victim's chest.
Order! Order! How do you explain this, Inspector?
I don't...
It looks as though everything that the victim had on his person moved with him when he was beamed. If the screwdriver was still in his chest when the instantaneous kinesis occurred, obviously, that should have been beamed to the other destination as well. This is a strange situation. Even though people are saying that this instantaneous kinesis is scientifically impossible, we're still basing arguments on the assumption that if it did actually take place. Alright, time to tighten the screws here. My lord, if the prosecution is unable to explain this inconsistency in its argument, we can only conclude that the testimony given in support cannot be relied upon. Lord Van Zieks is stumped.
Hold it!
Was that?
Do you have something to say, Miss Witness?
Yes, I knew it. It bears out the equation holds. Mr. Naruto, don't worry.
About what?
Without delving into the details, there's no What are you doing?
What?
Even if Andrew had been lodged in Mr. Aspen's chest, my trusty tool would have been moved. The Andrew remaining on the stage is consistent with my calculations.
It would seem your illusions have been shattered. Clearly, we should hear the accused's explanation. or should I say, this brilliant scientist's explanation.
Just when I'd found an inconsistency in the prosecution's argument. Scientist.
Very well. The defendant will testify again. Provide us with a scientific explanation as to why the inconsistency asserted by the defense fails to hold.
In the name of Apollo, I will, my lord. My glasses are falling. I need new glasses. Maybe I can use that new money to buy some.
The inconsistency explain.
To be clear, I'm still at the stage of gathering data in my research. My hypothesis state that the kinesis cannot transport metal, though, hence the metal weapon should have stayed.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and disagree with that.
In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruto isn't an inconsistency at all. Mr. Asman was a patron of my research. Without him, my work wouldn't have been possible. Now I have a duty to protect the incredible machine that we built together.
Why are you working against me, sir?
So, the thrust of your testimony, Professor, is that based upon his hypothesis, metal objects cannot be moved by this method of instantaneous kinesis. In other words, since the screwdriver is made of metal, even if it remained lodged in the victim's chest, its subsequent discovery on stage, despite the victim being found elsewhere, is not an inconsistency. And therefore, Professor Albert Harebrain could still have been the killer.
My hypothesis holds, you see. We had to make the cage used to contain the subject from wood for that very reason.
I was not addressing you, witness.
Professor Harebrain?
Yes,
Whose side are you on here?
I don't take sides, Mr. Naruto. No. My only interest lies in upholding my hypothesis. I'm a scientist after all.
Is he working for us or against us? It's very hard to tell.
Let's see how you cross-examine this testimony, my Nipponese friend.
Yes, fire away, Mr. Naruto.
I think I already know where your problem lies. So let's just cut to the chase. Metal cannot be transported. Okay. Can you explain this then?
Objection!
Professor Harebrain, you say that according to your hypothesis, nothing made of metal can be beamed by instantaneous kinesis using the machine you made, is that right?
Yes, that's right. Spot on, exactly correct.
In that case, I'd ask you to have a look at this photograph that was taken at the scene. In particular, I'd like you to pay attention to the victim's face. You can clearly see that Mr. Asman is wearing a pair of spectacles with a metal rim.
What? Metal? No, metal can't... That's not... Metal! No!
We've already established that the proposed murder weapon, the screwdriver, was found on the stage. However, if your hypothesis correctly predicted that outcome, it should also predicted that the metal-rimmed spectacles would be found in the same place.
My hypothesis! My hypothesis!
Professor Harebrain, this isn't easy for me to say, but your hypothesis is clearly flawed.
Order! 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 Counsel, what is the implication of this?
If, on the day in question, the alleged instantaneous kinesis never actually took place, then it's entirely possible that the victim was killed somewhere other than the stage. In that case, someone other than the defendant could have been the culprit.
But my hypothesis is sound. I proved it that day. The experiment was a success. The experiment was proof of all my work.
If I could say something here, in my capacity as a fellow of the Royal Society. Yes, juror number 4, go ahead. As a man of science, there's one thing I simply cannot abide. And that's a fraud who pretends to be a fellow man of science.
What? Wait, Great Scott! Are you suggesting my science is suspect?
It's just been disproved, hasn't it? In front of all of us. In other words, the whole demonstration was a complete nonsense from the start to finish. Believe me, my fellow jurors, when I tell you that this man is a hero, a bounder, and a fraud. I say the wreckage of that machine should be stripped down and thoroughly examined.
No, never! The machine is the evidence of my entire hypothesis. It's protected by the special dispensation for the Scientific Equipment Act.
What the devil is all blasted act all about? Hey, who made up such a damn rule?
I don't like the way this seems to be going. What's the best way for me to help the professor? I don't know, actually. I say object, because, like, he was it's not that he was falsely trying to do it. He legitimately thinks he did it.
Objection!
Professor Harebrained has yet to perfect his invention. That would seem to be the case, yes. But even so...
Even so, what?
Going to such trouble and expect to create a fake machine to display in public? He would have absolutely no reason to do such things. Uh-oh.
He had an obvious reason to do exactly that. For the research grant money.
Ah!
If the government was foolish enough to have deemed this matter ridiculous, no and plausible, he and his conspirators would have received a handsome sum indeed.
Conspirators? What would be the value of such grant? 10 pounds?
You're an order of magnitude out, madam. 500 pounds a year.
Or you can live handsome on that much up for years.
The Society's noticed an increase in bogus public demonstrations in the field of science recently. And plenty of scientists are using each other to get the largest slice of the funding cake. People's greed is plenty motive enough for murder, I assure you.
Great.
No, I haven't deceived anyone. Least of all the government. My hypothesis is sound. Science is sound. Please, you must believe me.
Objection!
No matter how unbelievable this hypothesis may seem to you, ladies and gentlemen, the fact remains that the victim was transported instantly to the Crystal Tower. Which means that the experiment was a success.
Ah, Merrick.
And therefore, the only person who could have possibly committed the murder is the accused.
Barrick. Where is this heading? I have no idea.
My lord, if I may. Lord, I got something in my throat. Yes, Lord Van Zeeks? The prosecution would like to summon new witnesses to the stand. New witnesses? What would be the nature of their involvement? They were spectators at the demonstration of their exhibition, who were occupying special seats.
Eyewitnesses.
Very well. The court grants the prosecution's request. I should very much like to hear from eyewitnesses to the incident. The prosecution's stance is clear. This experiment was no hostage. The accused killed the financier victim there on the public stage there before the very eyes of the spectators. Now, my learned friend.
Oh, yes.
It's time for you to make your own stance clear.
There's clearly a flaw in the professor's hypothesis. I can definitely see that. But where does that leave me?
We shall take a short recess now, during which time the prosecution will prepare its new witnesses to take the stand. As you wish, my lord. Good. In that case, court is adjourned for 20 minutes.
Well. So, unfortunately, Harebrain's going to be difficult. He's willing to be convicted of murder if it at least means that his hypothesis is true. So I think the key here is breaking him, unfortunately, into realizing that it ain't possible. I wish it were, but it ain't.
Mr. Naruto. What on earth were you playing at just now? Or rather, what on earth were you playing at all along? My amazing hypothesis. You've been picking holes in it from the start. Sorry about that. But you promised me. You said you proved that dramatic explosion was an accident, not murder. You said you'd keep my precious invention from falling into anyone else's hands. But all you've done so far is try to undermine me. Yes, I did make you a promise, you're right. I said that I believe in you and fight for your freedom to the very end. But I also told you I was no scientist. I don't understand your hypothesis. The fact is, there's an undeniable flaw in your logic, isn't there? But if I just run through some equations... yes, you see, it's because my work is incomplete. Perhaps it is. Nevertheless, a man died as a consequence, didn't he? Oh no! You're right. You're so right. It's all my fault. I have no right to blame you for my failures. I'm a disaster. Not just as a scientist, as a human being. Well, that might be a little over the top. And while we're on the subject, what about Barrick? He's being awful. Claiming his old university friend to be a murderer, you mean? He's a disaster. Not just as a prosecutor, but as a human being. Oh, but no, wait. He's a Reaper, isn't he? Or perhaps he's not classified as Homo sapiens anymore. Glad that's cleared up. Can I double check something with you? Yes. What? The machine and the demonstration you prepared, they were based entirely on your hypothesis, I presume? There was no trickery involved. I drew the plans for the machine with my very own hands. Every line was painstakingly drawn with the firm belief that science is the only future. So yes, it's true that my hypothesis hasn't reached maturity yet, but please, Mr. Naruhodo, you must believe in it. Alright, Professor. I understand.
Counsel, defendant! Prosecution's witnesses are ready to take a stand. What's about to be uncensored? Make your way! Now!
It all hinges on that demonstration. If the professor's hypothesis is sound as he claims, it leaves him as the only person who could possibly have killed the victim. But on the other hand, Mr. Sholmes was adamant. A practical implementation such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition is quite impossible. So really, what should I be trying to prove here? Well, the truth's what matters. I don't think that Harebrain's trying to trick people, per se. I think it might be something... Here's the thing. He didn't personally make the machine itself, right? And then there is... Of course, there's the fact that Odie is also, like, not, like, a bad person, obviously, you know. Could Odie have somehow, like, tampered with the machine in his own way? That led to his own demise, maybe? I don't know. Or was the people who actually constructed it at fault?
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene the proceedings of this court. Counsel for the defense and prosecution, are you ready for the new witnesses to testify? The prosecution is ready, my lord.
As is the defense, my lord.
So, Lord Van Zeeks, I believe these next witnesses saw the demonstration on the day in question with their own eyes? Indeed, they did. As luck would have it, one of them is a police detective. So that testimony we are about to hear can be considered highly reliable.
Perfect. A detective of all people.
The prosecution's stance remains unchanged. Though it ended in tragedy, the demonstration on the day in question was scientifically sound. And consequently, the sole person with the opportunity to have committed this act of murder is the only other individual to be present on the stage at the time, the accused. Thank you, counsel. The prosecution's position is clear. So, bring forth your witnesses now. Bailiff, show the witnesses then.
The witnesses whose proximity to the incident on the day in question will clarify the truth unequivocally.
Oh, a child was...
Oh, hey, Gina. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court to hear.
My name is Balthazar Loon. Balthazar Loon. I'm the impresario of all the hot air balloons in the vicinity of the experimental stage.
My name is Wilhelm Gottschalk Sigismund Ormstein. I have come to see the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia.
Here you go, child. Here you go, child.
I'm very rich.
Inspector Gina Lestrade, Scotland Yard. I'm a great detective, even Alex Sholmes agrees. I was on security duty at the exhibition, and I got to go up in one of the balloons. It was amazing. Gina. Again. But she did mention that she'd seen the disaster from up in the balloon, actually, didn't she? And she clearly loved every minute of it.
Therefore, there were 3 balloons flying near the public experimentation stage when the incident occurred. 2 of these witnesses were in one such balloon at the time and saw events unfold from the skies above.
To make it sound like they were in the clouds. Yeah, it was only an altitude of circa 60 feet. Very low.
Well, you can't see nothing if you fly too high, can you?
60 feet, about 18 meters then.
Thank you for your introductions. Now, you will give your formal testimony for the court. Can you describe exactly what you witnessed, especially those of you who had a vantage point above the stage?
Balloon. The view from 60 feet up. It was an incident terrible. Terrible. I am only grateful that my balloons were not damaged.
There's this huge bang from the stage, Ed. And then the next second, another bang in the sky behind us. And from amidst the smoke, a cage appeared from out of nowhere.
The cage fell from the sky like a stone and crashed into the crystal tower.
I think you had a good look inside the cage, but no one went near it after it crashed into the tower.
A most extraordinary collective account, I must say.
Can I just clarify something? There's a detail in the witness's testimony that I've not heard any mention of until now. Specifically, that there were 2 explosions. Yeah.
More precisely, 2 explosions in 2 separate places, yes.
Where?
When the demonstration began, the balloon carrying the 2 witnesses was around here. There were other balloons in the air nearby at the time, carrying other passengers as well, to be clear.
There's one.
Then, as power was supplied to the machine for the demonstration, the first explosion occurred. The so-called birdcage that contained the victim disappeared from the stage, and a moment later, the second explosion occurred directly adjacent to the balloon carrying the witness. The birdcage appeared at the site of the explosions, subsequently to plummet down into the crystal tower.
I was very surprised. Suddenly a cage appeared before my eyes with a person inside. The breath was so hot, I wanted Mrs. Singh. So I get my eyes farted. Have a night, balloon.
What a course, child.
I still have lots of money.
Precisely, who is this curious infant? I'm told he's a young noble of Bohemian royalty. Apparently, he disguised himself in order to steal unnoticed into the Great Exhibition.
Yeah, I'm here in London on a sightseeing trip with my elementary school.
We will have the benefit of a child's point of view in the testimony.
Do we really need that? Hey.
When I remove my mask, this is what I look like.
Ah, yes, I see. Delightful face, I'm sure.
Yeah, everybody says so.
Are you okay, child? Why do you have the bandage? Are you good? Great disguise, then.
The point is, the testimony of these witnesses further substantiates the facts for the court. Namely, that despite ending in an explosion, instantaneous kinesis was successfully demonstrated. And furthermore, that until the arrival of the police, no one approached the crystal tower from where the victim fell. Therefore, only the accused who was with Miss Asmund on the stage could possibly have committed the murder. Yes, thank you, counsel. The prosecution's view on the matter is quite clear. So, the defense's cross-examination now, please.
Yes, my lord. Sorry, I keep checking something. Alright, so...
Hold it!
Allow me to press you on this statement, sir. There were 3 balloons flying above the experimentation stage at the time, I understand. Sir, see. All 3 of them, my bellissime bambini. They are very popular, signor. Some people will pay £10 for one ride. £10? That's more than my annual stipend.
£20 a month. That's my pocket money.
Rails have all the luck.
I got ever free, I did. Play into I work for Maxi's police car, you know?
Texas have all the luck. If they're so popular, why would you only be operating such a small number of balloons, though? Because if I had too many in the skies, they could crash into each other.
The operators for the balloons were decided by lots, with each operator manning a particular area.
See, and the zone above public experimentation stage is the most profitable. The other impresarios, they hate me.
Thank you, witness. I think the court has a clear picture of the arrangements for balloon rides at the exhibition. Perhaps we could hear more about what you actually witnessed at the incident.
Right, I can feel you in there, my lord.
Hold it!
So you actually saw the accident happen from up in the air?
Yep, ain't it amazing what a detective gets to do, huh? I'm telling you, Oda, being a lawyer's as mugs the game. You should join the force and we could go flying together.
You know me so well. Yes, well, anyway, could you tell us exactly what you saw, do you think?
Everything. We saw everything, because we were up above it all. That dodgy curve climbing into that cage and that dodgy professor pulling out all them levers. And that's when it happened. That's when there was that massive bang and the cage disappeared, just like that.
You're describing the moment the subject's body was decomposed by electricity, I believe.
I didn't know what to make of it. But then there was another bang, right in my ear. I looked around, and there was a huge great fireball right next to us in the sky. And there was nothing there before.
Child?
Excuse me!
I might scare you. Master Gotts, does your memory of the day differ?
My teacher at elementary school said that when you meet someone for the first time, you should always use their full name.
Ah, yes, what was it again?
William Gottschalk Sigmund Ormstein.
Just the 4 names, then. The point is, do you have something to say? Something to add in response to Detective Gina Lestrade's last remark, perhaps?
Oh, get right to it, though. It's Inspector Lestrade.
Why does everyone have a problem with how I dress them at the moment?
That is not what I saw.
Oh?
Yeah, there was a second explosion. It was right beside our balloons. That's true. But I'm sure... Which is what I said, isn't it? One minute there was nothing, and the next was a massive explosion. My teacher at elementary school that and someone else is speaking. If you are rude enough to interrupt, you have the most awful life ever.
Are all Bohemians brought up to be so full of joy?
I'm a balloon.
Well, of course, the Italian.
Just before the second explosion happened, extra balloon, I clearly witnessed a green balloon flying in the sky.
A green balloon? Oh! This one. Yeah.
Ah,
Well, I never saw nothing like that.
I did. I saw it. You guys saw it. I fucking played the concert. I have cried, scream. My decimal is a truth. I believe me a press. You gotta say the lies. It's not allowed.
I ain't the bleeding royalty card, are you? Typical. Says the orphan who likes to remind people she works for Her Majesty's police.
In that case, young man, I must ask you to amend your formal testimony. In the interest of cordial national relations between Great Britain and Bohemia.
It's not exactly a contradiction or anything like that, but I can agree with this statement. There was indeed a green something. But why did this green balloon explode?
Objection!
What? Whatever. Brother.
Hold it!
A green balloon, you say? Are you sure about that?
Of course I'm sure. I'm a proud Bohemian French. All these questions make me boring.
I think you mean bored.
English is very annoying. Letting my country as far as superior.
Akazu, it's very wrong to lie.
Lie?
Flying balloons never explode. For the same reason the planets never explode. Logical. Please tell me that doesn't mean logical.
If you insult me, you insult Bohemia.
Might die.
I've had to become a sure you're still living out of the sky. All of them. Now give me balloon.
Here you are, Your Highness. If only all international incidents were so easily resolved.
Now that peaceful relations have been restored here in the courtroom, perhaps we could return to the testimony. Did you also see the moment that the cage materialized, Mr. Loon?
No, I did not see the explosion myself. However, let's continue. Did you see that actually happen? No, in reality I did not. I saw it after it hit the tower. There was a grand confusion around the stage. I ran to see what had happened. I was terrorized by the idea of one of my balloons had crashed. I suppose they are his livelihood. But when I looked up to the sky, all my precious balloons were still there. I saw it though. I saw it slam into the tower. After all, I'm a detective now. Then tell us what you saw, Inspector Lestrade. That's what I like to hear.
Hold it!
Was it you who gave the order to keep people away? Eh? You said, Odo? How could it have been me? I was up in a balloon, or where? Right. So cause I wasn't able, it was the boss that had to leg it over there. He was getting shoved and kicked all over our pack and spectators as he tried to stay off their scene. It's a real sight to behold, I can tell you. Amazing. Poor Inspector Gregson. So anyway, I couldn't see the cage that well because of all the smoke. And I didn't really want to see, to be honest. I was scared out of my wits. Keep it together, Inspector. The prosecution really is asserting that the demonstration was genuine. What if it was all actually some kind of switch-around trick instead? That would mean that the victim was never actually on stage in the first place. The two explosions would have thrown everyone watching into a panic for sure. I think I need to find out more about what exactly people saw at the time. Wait.
Hold it!
There were 3 balloons flying above the experiment station stage at the time, if I understand. 10 pounds. Pocket change. Freedom. Alright. I think this has got to be it. None of the balloons were damaged, and yet we have evidence of one being very damaged. Mr. Loon, in your testimony, you said that all 3 of the balloons you had operating at the time were undamaged. See, that is correct. If they had been caught in the explosions, it would have been terrible. I wonder, if you might know what this is? I think it may be... See, part of a balloon. A burnt piece of the fabric of the envelope. Sorry? The envelope. Pardon, that is the large round part of the balloon which becomes filled with hot air. It is made from very thick fabric lined with rubber. You don't want it to rip open when you are in the sky. Just as I thought. This piece of cloth was found near the experimentation stage. In other words, as Master Gods testified, a green balloon did indeed explode that day. If all the balloons in the sky above the experimentation stage belong to you, Mr. Loon, then your statement that they were all undamaged is clearly contradicts with the evidence. No! Balloon exploded that day. Why didn't you just manage to say so? Why do I keep throwing away cards? Maybe you're on board with why. Oh no, just haven't spent total pounds for the experience? How awful. You mean like the same trash 50% of the time anyway.
Objection!
The instantaneous kinesis did occur, but after the explosion on the stage. The point of the materialization shifted to a location occupied by a balloon, causing the balloon to explode. Wouldn't there be people hurt? Wait, actually, hold on. We've heard no news of anyone getting hurt, though, from falling. That being the case, I'd have to assume something along the lines of that, no one was in that balloon. Meaning it was safe to blow up. Meaning you could hide something in it, explode it, drop something from it, and no one would fall to their death. An unfortunate traffic accident, as it were, but it changes nothing about the pertinent facts. I cannot accept it! Why not, Mr. Loon? You're suggesting I'm a liar! A person's died in a balloon incident! There's no need to get fired up, Mr. Loon. The victim was a sole fatality that day. That's right, and I prove it. But the Loon is not a liar. There's no such balloon in the sky. It's not impossible. You're saying that's impossible. Why? This court has more important matters to discuss than the number of balloons that were operating that day.
Objection!
But we can't ignore the fact that nobody appears to have known anything about this other balloon until now. My lord, the defense calls for further testimony from Mr. Loon.
I concur. There's clearly more to the truth here than meets the eye. It's imperative that we clear up the issue of this phantom balloon, I feel. Witness, you will give this supplementary testimony about the balloons that you were operating at the exhibition.
Ah, grazie, my lord. Mr. Loon's balloons. The saw balloon is no liar. Every balloon I had in the sky landed safely. All 3 of my balloons were carrying passengers. If they fell to the ground in an explosion, what a catastrophe.
But you can't get away from the fact that a burnt-up bit of cloth was found at the scene, can you? The coppers at the yard reckon it was probably some debris thrown from the explosion at the stage.
The stupid Iraq is always a mistaken. My balloons have the reddest blue zigzag stripes anyway. So it wasn't his balloon, is what I'm getting at.
So your assertion is that the balloon this child saw was not one belonging to you? See, exactamente. If he even saw a balloon in the first place. I do not like the sound of it. It's very bad for business. I have good mind to sue Lad of Bohemia.
You attackers are evil. Fight back. It will be war. War. Balloon.
Well, another war has been avoided. What happened to all-out war? Mr. Loon certainly doesn't appear to be lying. But that doesn't change the fact that the testimony and evidence are contradictory here.
If the defense is unable to find fault with the witnesses' statements, the court must consider them to the truth. Think long and hard on that, my learned Think long and hard on that, my learned friend.
The situation has clearly changed now. I have to get to the bottom of what happened here, no matter what it takes.
Counsel, you may now cross-examine the witnesses.
Mr. Loon's balloons. On the second thought, how about we go ahead and end it for today? 4 hours now, so we'll probably be able to complete the trial tomorrow or whenever I stream again. But until then, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoy, and hope to see you later. See ya!